and welcome to Alosa Fumar Takes. This is our 285th take, live from the Alec Bradley Lone Star studio of Azle, Texas. I'm your host, Barry Duplessis, as always, and I'm so proud, so pleased, and so privileged to be with you all tonight. This is going to be a fantastic show, a show of a united front for all things good versus evil, all things good versus evil. Yes, all good things versus evil. I don't know why I'm going with that tagline, but that seems to work for me tonight. This is so exciting for me to meet and bring together these fine and distinguished gentlemen for you all tonight as we get set ready for the 2024 PCA trade show coming up this week. We plan on bringing you the best and biggest and brightest coverage that you all have ever seen, and I've got just the teammates here to talk to you all about it. So, but before we get to formal introductions of the guests of honor tonight, we do have to thank the people that make this show possible, and that, of course, is our sponsors. And tonight's show is sponsored by Drew Estate. Drew Estate has announced its second blackened cigar, the Blackened S84 Shade to Black, is now available from Drew Estate. The cigar is the second collaboration between Metallica's James Hetfield, Sweet Amber Distilling's Rob Dietrich, and Drew Estate. Following up from the Blackened M81, the S84 Shade to Black adds a Connecticut shade offering to the Blackened portfolio. The announcement was made on just this past week on the 2024 March 14th edition of Drew Estate's Freestyle Live. S84 Shade to Black was originally released by an unbanned Freestyle Live mystery pack, which I've been telling you guys about for the last couple of months, and it's the sixth Freestyle Live mystery pack that Drew Estate has brought to its consumers. So the new cigar from Drew Estate, the sequel to the Blackened M81, is the none other than the Blackened S84 Shades of Black. So check out your Drew Diplomat retailer today and get yourself the newest from Blackened Cigars and Drew Estate. And welcome, everybody. This is our 285th take. We are so pleased to welcome in tonight's guest. And if you are listening to us wherever you listen to podcasts, whether that be on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Google Play, Podbean, or wherever you listen to podcasts, be sure you download, subscribe, and review. If you already are a subscriber, do me a favor, hit unsubscribe, but don't forget to hit resubscribe. And again, tonight's audio broadcast is courtesy of Gran Habano Cigars. Honest, compassionate, great cigars. Be sure to download, subscribe, and review Alosa Fumar Takes today. And tonight's guests are sponsored by United Cigars. Smoke one today and start living united. We have William Cooper, Ben Lee, Erron Nielsen, Tripp Waldrop, and Denis Tsvang of the Cigar Coop Coalition. Gentlemen, how are we doing tonight?
Amazing. St. Patty's Day.
Happy St. Patrick's Day. I should have let off with that. Yes, happy St. Patrick's Day. Are you drinking Irish whiskey, Ben? How festive are we going? Are we going green beer? Are we doing Irish whiskey? Or it's like, you're like, Bear, you're keeping me up fucking late. I'm drinking Irish coffee.
Oh, Irish whiskey and, of course, corned beef and cabbage.
Yeah.
Nice today.
Nice,
of course.
Well,
even though that's not really Irish, but it's Irish American.
Yeah.
Irish American.
Yeah.
So fantastic. Does anyone have any like St. Patrick's Day like traditions that they'd like to do?
No. Besides drink?
Besides drink? I mean, besides
Yeah.
drink and smoke cigars.
The only tradition I have is that most years I go to an Irish pub with my mom because I'm the only one who will tolerate Irish music with her in the house. And I get to drink whiskey and beer while we're there.
Yeah.
But we didn't do that this year.
Oh, that doesn't sound
We
too
had friends
miserable.
coming over.
Okay.
Were they Irish friends?
Not that I know of. I don't believe so. They weren't wearing green. I know that much.
I drank a lot of green beer in college, if that counts, but that's way long ago. And I didn't make it down this year, but usually I go see our fair city of Chicago dye the river green. And the question always is, if you can dye the river green for a day or so, why can't you dye it blue for another 364 days? Because, well, it looks like shit most of the time.
Yeah, that's a famous line from the Fugitive, the Harrison Ford, Tommy Lee Jones thriller from like the early 90s. It was like that. It's like, man, why are they dye it green? Why can't they dye it blue the other 364 days of the year? So it's funny you say it. So that actually is a Chicago saying, Erron.
It is. Although the dead bodies in the river would probably be, come out blue. So I don't know.
It's true. Who knocked off all these Smurfs? What's going on there? So
floating Smurf.
Well, guys, we're going to get lots of about the topic at hand tonight. Obviously, we've got the PCA trade show coming up. The first its kind, different time of year, and we're all privileged to be a part of it, and we'll be all going as a collective group. The only person missing from our immediate group is of course John McTavish, who'll be representing Development Palates over the course of the week that we'll be there. So this will be good. But it was really good to welcome you guys. Also, thank you also agreeing to be here tonight and everything. Really quick before we kind of get into just some questions that I had about this year's trade show and everything, wanted to just get any first trips to Vegas notable memories from everybody. So not necessarily for a trade show. This seems to be the reason why we've been going to Vegas the last few years for most of us. Coop has another, his day job. He's gone for that a couple of times. I know, Erron, you got to see your family out there every once in a while as well, and for other things. But for us, I guess as a whole, it seems to be like the main motivation for going out to Vegas the last few years. So, anyone want to volunteer a first time Vegas story from when the first time they ever went to Vegas? Dennis, there has to be something legendary from you. I'm just gonna put you on the spot here.
So not first time, but I did attend a private party at the Hustler Club, hosted by John McAfee like years ago. And somebody rolled up to the club in a tumbler. You remember Batman Begins?
Yeah.
And that tumbler, some guy just rolled up in a tumbler to the club. That's the only thing I can think of. I thought it was ridiculous. I was exhausted by the end of the night. I couldn't even care. But it was fun.
How did you get the invite to how'd that even happen?
So it wasn't like a very special, this couple of small group of people hang out. It was more of a, hey, John McAfee's doing this thing, just show up, doors open.
This was a DEF CON thing, right? Like it was part of a convention.
This was a DEF CON thing. So they're like, yeah, whoever wants to come by, just let's flood this place with people until they can't put any more people inside.
Whoever wants to.
I didn't need them or anything.
That's crazy.
I've been. I don't know my first time. I've got a lot of stories from Vegas, but I won't get down that rabbit hole. But what I'll say about Vegas, it's going to happen again this year. I know it, and it's whether it's the PCA. I was just there in December for my son's soccer tournament. I was there several months before that for work. I go probably 4 to 5 times a year to Vegas. Every time leading up to it, I'm always super excited. It's like, oh, I get to go to Vegas. And within about a day, I'm like, this fucking place. So I'm sure by the time PCA is done with, can't wait to board my plane. But I'm really looking forward to seeing you guys. My highlight is always spending time. We'll call it debriefing or, telling stories, regaling about the day and about cigars and everything. So that's my favorite part of the shows is the after festivities, not so much I like the show, but it's a lot of work, but I'm looking forward to it as always.
Nice. I'm definitely looking forward to seeing you guys. I think that's one of the main motivators we come.
Yep.
That kind of bring us together and everything. Coop, what you've been going to Vegas for a long time for a lot of different reasons. PCA, IPCPR being probably the main part of it. But when was your first trip to Vegas?
2003, 2002, 2003 it was. And it was with my dad, actually. We did it was one of the few father-son trips we did. And then it was funny because right after that I went, we started having our IBM meetings out there every year. But the interesting story with my dad was, this is definitely a memorable story, is my dad loved to be in the casino, and he was in the casino, and there are women in the casino, right? Let me just put it like that.
Yeah, that's the rumor at least. Yeah.
It tends to happen.
And basically the women, my dad's like, he's like getting all excited. He's like, wow, all these young girls are like smiling at me and looking at me. And I'm like, right. And I'm like, Dad, they're not smiling and looking at you. They're looking for business. He's like, no. And I'm like, Dad, they're on their Blackberries pretending to text. Like, don't you see them all with their Blackberry? And he's like, no. I said, go look over. And basically, here was what I knew is basically they couldn't loiter, right? So they were on their things like pretending to do something, right? Or pretending to like communicate with someone. But they had to
Yeah,
be
I'm
careful.
meeting someone here.
I'm
Right.
meeting someone
Like,
here, right? Exactly. That was what they would say. But he was convinced that like they were interested. I'm like, Dad, I'm sorry, they're not interested in you. They're not interested in me. They're interested in your money, basically. So
I'm sure they had great personalities and great stories to
yeah.
tell.
But the other thing that happened, we were over at New York, right? And like Dad, he was very, very superstitious, and he had these like slot machines that he was convinced would win. And he's like, "Hey, I want you to just go to this slot machine." And it was one of those slot machines where you didn't just win money, you won a prize. And I put the first coin in, right? And son of a gun, I win a prize. I win a Harley Davidson bomber jacket. I still have it today.
wow.
Oh, shit.
It retailed for $500. Yeah. I have it. I still have it today. It still fits me. Yeah. So first I'm like, son of a gun, he's right about these slot machines, So
That's awesome. You should bring that bomber jacket to Vegas. It'll be a little chilly in the evening.
I was thinking about it. I was actually thinking about it. Maybe I will do that.
Full circle.
Yeah, maybe that's a good idea. I think I just have to. I just say it's going to take up a lot of room in my luggage, but maybe I could just wear it.
Yeah,
I
there you
can
go.
wear it home for you, don't worry.
That's fine. Somebody mail it back.
Jose probably has an extra suitcase for you.
There you go.
He just, by the way, breaking news: he landed in Dallas and he's smoking outside the airport. Jay, go open the store for him. He needs a place to smoke. He has landed in Dallas.
My first time in Vegas was, I think, 2011. And we kind of like, my wife and I came up with the idea, like, we should go to Vegas. And I don't remember how we exactly landed on it, but we found super cheap tickets and hotels in December. And we stayed in the MGM like a week before Christmas, like December 19th through 22nd or something like that. And the place was dead. It was awesome. Like the whole strip was pretty dead. Like for our first experience in Vegas, there weren't a ton of people around. I won, like, I went to a slot machine in the Cosmo because we were just kind of like, first time being in Vegas, we were walking around checking out all the hotels and immediately realizing how far away everything is. So it sucks walking between one place and another on the strip. But we went to the Cosmo, and this was before Tesla was Tesla that they are now. They only had the Roadster, which was like basically a prototype. And they had one on top of these slot machines, and you could win one. So I was like, oh, I'll try to win that. And I got like $20 on the house for spinning this wheel and put $20 in, and I won like $600. I didn't win a Tesla, but I paid for drinks and dinner for the rest of the week.
Nice. That's cool. Yeah, I thought the way the story was going, you were going to say you won a Tesla and Coop just got a leather jacket,
No, that would have been great.
Right, exactly.
That's a great story, Coop. You won a jacket. Well, I won a car. Well, awesome. Well, guys, want to go. I know we're got some time constraints for a couple of y'all, so let's go ahead and get into tonight's major point, which is brought to you by Gran Habano Cigars from the fertile lands of Honduras. George Rico and his family have put together the very best vintages for you, the cigar smoker. From value-based hits like Crojo No. 5 to the award-winning 20th anniversary to special projects like Zulu Zulu, Gran Habano is about cultivating the best and making the pinnacle cigars on the market. Cultured, tradition, quality, premium, handcrafted, Gran Habano cigars. So everyone, guys, I'm going to go ahead and light up a cigar, and so I'd like to welcome back Tripp and Denis, who were just on my show recently, obviously, and but Ben, I know that you have got some time constraints, as does Denis, on this. So Brand, I'm going to give you the privilege of choosing my cigar tonight. So I have a Dunbarton Tobacco Trust. So Bramesa, soon to be called something different.
Solita.
The Solita. I've got Herrera Esteli. The Herrera
Is that the
Esteli
Brulee?
This is the Miami. No, this is the Suburban. This is just the Solita. It's not the Brulee.
Okay, it looked like the.
Yeah, I know the light. The light's pretty light on that too. It's weird. I do have the Herrera Esteli Miami. which is this is in Lonsdale Deluxe size, which I know is a fan favorite for you, Ben. Placencia 149 Cosecha. Christoph Vengeance in my personal favorite double perfecto. And the Ferio Tego Supreme. So what am I lighting up today, Ben?
Those are all really good selections. Every one of those. I'm leaning towards actually, honestly, I think the Herrera Esteli, man. That's what my gut's telling me.
Sounds good. I thought you might pick that. I know it's a size that you really like.
Yeah.
What are you smoking tonight, Ben?
I'm smoking the La Flor Dominicana Oro 50th anniversary, the TA one. This is the Chisel.
Nice. Love that cigar.
Yeah, it's quite good for a TA release.
They know how to do it, man. They know how to do it. It's good
One of the few
stuff.
companies that can do a TA cigar.
True. Much to Coop's delight. Coop, what do you
Well,
what
I
are
want you to
smoking?
I want you to pick mine tonight. Okay.
Okay.
So I've curated a selection of three cigars. First one I have is this is a Timeless Sterling Churchill, and this is Ferriotegoized. So that is the first one. I have a Opus X Oro Oscuro Bellicoso Triple X.
See, I know why you asked me to pick your cigar, not Ben, because the conversation would be over now.
You're right.
Well,
You're right.
And the third one is I have one of the elusive new LGs.
Ooh.
Oh, shit.
That was all a fucking setup.
It was.
That
You
whole
know what?
spiel was a fucking setup.
Yeah.
I agree.
I have
It's-
these cigars, and
Yeah.
then
These are great. These are three great. Are these three not great cigars?
They are very. Yes,
Well, we
absolutely.
wouldn't know about one of them. would we?
Michael Herklotz is like feeling so dissed right now because he's like, shit. These guys.
I love the time. This guy. What I think of that Sterling. I think that's
Yeah.
the marquee of his portfolio.
The humble brag. Oh, look, what do I have here? Oh, how
I
did
have
this
this
get
highly
to my
sought
thing?
after. Yeah, that has been done.
This was a pro cigar throwing it.
All right. Well, I think Coop. You said coffee delivered to me. That's always nice.
Nice.
Ben's like, oh shit, I gotta go to bed. Coop, I think I'm gonna. Well, I think the obvious choice. I'm gonna go with the LG, man. Light it up. Light it up. Tell us how jealous I am, because. Oh man, I'm super jealous of that. That's fantastic.
Got that. Oh, it's got those. It's got that wonderful aroma.
we
You
go.
get off the LDs, that kind of
Here
Christmassy, spicy. Yeah. So
Here
that's
we
what I'm a big fan of this line too. So I told
love
Cardi,
that
you
line.
better release this year. I'm like, I've waited long enough for you to come
Happy
back out with-
birthday, Lito! Release your fucking cigar.
Recently, I've been hearing about this since 2015. I'm like, wait, the LG's coming back. It's almost 10 years, Ron.
That might single-handedly bring you to the birthday party, man. Just so you can talk to Lito
Yeah,
about bringing it back. That's good. Awesome. Well, cool. All right. Well, so two LDs bring light up. I've got the Herrera Esteli. Erron, what are you smoking? You've probably gone through two cigars by now already. So.
Yeah, I'm on my fourth.
Yeah.
But this fourth one, oh, I can't see it. There we go. I got the new patina, the Nicaraguan. So, I just was exchanging text messages with Mo. I did light this up when the show began. I have not had this, so this is my first, I don't know, 20 minutes into this or whatever, and it's really good. So looking forward to seeing how this develops.
Fantastic.
Nice.
Ben, you've already had this, correct?
Oh yeah. Honestly, I think it's the best patina cigar ever released.
So far, I
mean,
agree.
It's absolutely fantastic. That was going to be something I was going to bring up in a segment later on in the show that we'll be talking about later.
Cool. All righty. Tripp, what are you lighting up?
I have been Googling furiously here, trying to figure out what the fuck I'm smoking. It is a Fuente Magnum
Of course.
Rosado, but it had a cedar wrapper on it, and it's like a 6.5 by 50. As far as I can find, maybe it's the Grand T, but like Fuente being Fuente, it came from the Great Smoke Box, and I have no idea what size this
Yeah,
is.
it's the Rosado. It's the Rosado.
It's the Rosado Sungrown.
Yeah.
I mean, I know it's
Yeah.
the Rosado, but
The
there's
Rosado-
they don't make one in this size. I think the King T, but that only comes in a tubo, and it
Yeah.
didn't come with a tubo, so maybe. But
No.
maybe it's just something they threw a band on. Whatever it is, it's good.
The cedar wrap's a little cute. That's that they do that on one. They do that on a couple, right?
Right, yeah, and that's I
Mm-hmm.
don't know which ones they do it on, to be honest with you.
Neither do they. I can tell you that.
Tripp's,
Jose, if you're listening, time
Tripp's firing up Google so he understands. He's like, nope, they don't have anything. There's
Yeah.
nothing on the cigar. That's crazy. Dennis, what about you, sir? And what are you smoking tonight?
I've got if you can see, probably not. You can't see there. It is My Father La Opulencia.
Oh, okay. That's a little bit of a controversial cigar, I think, for this panel. I don't think that many people are a fan of. I happen to be.
I
But,
really like that cigar.
The La Palencia, okay. So
It's-
that's like I don't. Yeah, I think there's a couple of other people that aren't
Meh.
big fans of it.
meh. It's a meh for me. It's not
Meh.
terrible. There's better My Fathers than that.
Oh, so yes, I will agree with that.
I do
Yeah,
agree with that.
To really like this
Yeah,
model.
I can agree with that.
It's probably, Coraline, Le Bijou, Fonseca. I put those ahead of it. I definitely
I'd
put
agree.
Opulenta ahead of the Judge and
Yeah.
La Grana Fuerte and stuff like
Yeah.
that.
Grano Fuerte is the worst fucking cigar that they have ever done. That is
I would
his
say
hit. That's the
I think
that's
the
the bottom.
judge is worse. I hate the judge, man.
So what saved the judge for me in this conversation about that the Toro size that they put out, the non like massive size one, which I know
Never
just,
tried that.
that makes Coop.
I actually
cringe.
think I scored the Toro size higher.
Oh, you did. Okay, so yeah,
Yeah,
thought
I'd
that
have to
was
look it up. I thought the Toro size was pretty good in it from what I remember.
Yeah, I didn't. I like
Yeah.
that Vitola, but the Permiso was hit or miss in the like different Vitolas and stuff. But man, their classic stuff and what they've been doing recently.
89, I
We've all
gave it,
talked
yeah.
about. We've all talked about this. What they've been doing recently. What Pete's been doing with Patatsuahe, his releases coming out of that factory. Now with another one of the fan favorites, releasing some cigars out of there as well. We'll be talking about that here in just a little bit.
Mhm.
I mean, My Father's been on fire the last few years as far as some of their cigars. It's been incredible. It's been an incredible
Yep.
run. It's
Yep.
like I think the old days. I feel like
Mhm.
when I felt
Yeah.
like
It feels like they're back in they went through a little bit of, I think, a transition period when they were moving into their own farms and stuff. And I think they've got a good handle of that.
I think Pepin and Jaime know their inventory now, and then they're back to doing what they're really good at, which is obviously blending.
Exactly.
So that's fantastic. So, cool. Well, gentlemen, let's go ahead and kick things off here. I mean, the obvious question in the room, we've answered. I think we've tackled this topic from almost all angles. The PCA trade show now, a different time of year. But I tried to think of a question that really hasn't been asked around this. So maybe I hit on something, maybe I didn't. But let's go ahead and kick things off with, what does this new time of year bring what is going to be the biggest difference that we will see from this trade show being moved to this time of year? We'll get started there. So then
I think the biggest
kick off.
one, I think the biggest one is, so we've already kind of been talking about it, was it's so close to the last trade show, not so close, but close enough to where we're probably not going to see a whole lot of new stuff coming out, or at least we might see mock-ups, but we're not going to see any of the cigars or anything this year.
Yeah, I think we're going to see very few.
Yeah,
Yeah.
if you look at the big board that Coop made, it's what, maybe a third full?
About a third. Yeah,
If
and
that.
it's usually about 2/3 full this time, or half to 2/3 by this time.
Oh, that's generous, Coop. That's generous. This thing was
about
fucking blank a week ago.
it was blank when we did it when we did the primetime show on the 29th. It was literally blank. This week there was an increase, but there's still a lot of blank spots in there right now.
I mean, we're still having press releases tonight on a Sunday night.
Yeah, we got one tonight. Yeah, I'm not sure if they're going to the trade show. That was Esteban, the Esteban one that came in. But yeah, it's yeah, it was great. And there's probably I know there's a couple of press releases coming tomorrow. There was a couple that was supposed to come Friday that did.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I think Ben hit it in terms of a big noticeable thing as far as that goes. I think the other thing is I think people are going to first time when they smoke outside be cold in Vegas as opposed to be hot. So
what's the weather supposed to be like? Living in Florida, I have no concept of weather.
Low 50s. Low 50s
Okay.
for the low.
Yeah, it's going to be cooler the first couple of nights. I would recommend you guys have some jackets. I think it's going to get into the high 40s. It looked like the first night.
That's cool.
Sounds like shorts for me.
Yankees.
Yeah, Yankees. I was going to say. I the question I had, and I'm not trying to monopolize, but so shut me up if you want. I was looking at a badge number, right? And I'm going to say if they get 2,400 badges, that's about a 10% increase. I would say it's successful to move, and that will be interesting to see if they can get that. Doesn't mean they're all going to be on the show floor at the same time. I still think you'll see most of the people on day 1 and 2, but I'm curious to see if they can get the badge number up to 2,400. And everything I'm hearing is they're trending up for sure with badges.
I'm going to be curious on that note. So I've talked about this before when we talked on the primetime show. Knowing that the traditional time for the PCA has been in the summer, and for where I'm at in the Midwest is a very busy time for lounges. It's
busy everywhere. Yeah, that's busy season at lounges down here too.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so if you look at even particular, again, Midwest, smoking outside, you got the 4th of July, all that kind of stuff. It'll be interesting to see who's new, who maybe hasn't been able to attend in the past because of the timing, and now they can go this time. As well as maybe more retailers are bringing folks from their shop to the show that they felt like they had to leave back because of just, the time of year and the traffic and just the difference. So I think it could be a really big positive. My not concern, but it'll be interesting going back off of Ben's comment. I agree. I mean, we could go to different booths and they're just going to have like maybe one box on display of this release coming out. It's going to hit the shelves in September, who knows? But hopefully the people that have not been able to go or haven't been in several years don't come away with kind of a negative taste in their mouth and thinking that this is like the norm, if you will. So I think it could be a complete positive. I don't want to go on, we talk about the attendance all the time. Every year we talk about attendance up, attendance down.
Everybody knows,
It'll be just interesting, kind of if there's a new attendee list that maybe hasn't been there in years past.
That's a great point.
Yeah, I could definitely see that happening.
Yeah.
Yeah, some faces that we don't normally get to see.
Right.
For sure. I think that's a good point. Anybody else in this particular? What major difference will we see with the show being this time of year? Coop brought up an interesting point about the weather. And I know that sounds like old person chat. Like, can you believe these highs and lows? Nothing that we don't necessarily have to venture that. But how will it change the experience that we've come to know by going to a trade show in Vegas? We've all been to multiples at this point. Dennis, this is your first trade show since 2019, correct? And Trips.
Was it? Yeah, I think it was 2019. Yeah, it was
2019 was the last one we went.
Been a while.
So,
but I think, on that, I think I know where you're going with this with Bear. But I mean, if you think about the quote unquote outdoor, I mean, most of the time that people gather, taking the compound out of the equation, which will dress appropriately, most people are congregating indoors anyway. So I don't think it's going to be a big, like, yeah, people like to talk about the weather because they got nothing better to talk about. But at the end of the day, I don't know that many people congregate in an outdoor setting. Like when we've gone to events, post-show gatherings, they're all inside. I mean, we're not on a rooftop anywhere. We're not, under some tent or anything like that. So it's always been pretty much indoors. Now we went to the one at, it wasn't at Caesars. Where was the one that we were at, the long bar there? Was the outdoor,
Was it at Mirage at Rum Bar?
Yeah, exactly. Rum bar.
Yeah.
So that's kind of got that indoor outdoor feel to it. But so that might be a little bit different. But by and large, I mean, everybody's going to be inside anyway. So I don't think the weather affects anything in drastically one way or the other. But I could be, surprised by it. But my guess is it's not going to be a whole lot different.
Well,
I mean, we've been to some parties some years that are outside. Like
that's where I was going.
I specifically remember. They had that Mombacho party at at some taco joint, and it was miserably hot, like 115. They had those fans with the misters on them.
Was that?
I remember that. I remember I was parked in.
Diplomatico was released.
In front of one of those.
No, this was the year before Diplomatico. 2 years.
This was in like North Las Vegas, or this was in the old town of Las Vegas.
Yeah, the Arts District.
Yeah, the following year they did it at a house that they rented.
That was when Claudio had the house.
And then in 19 it was at some hotel, but it was outside where they released Diplomatico.
That was the one. Yeah, that was that hotel. It was by Aria or something like that. I remember we went to that one.
So this
Mombacho always threw good. Mombacho always had good parties.
Mm-hmm.
Like I think there was never a dud party when it came to Mombacho. They were one of the best. They're going to be missed.
So this is whatever. So we've never been to an outdoor. So unless they've changed them, maybe everybody complained it was too hot in the summer, so they've changed them to indoors. But like there hasn't been a true outdoor party. Well, we went to that Guy Fieri thing, which was outside on that patio, but like that wasn't even.
No, the general or forged gathering, and that actually wasn't that bad. Like aside from the cigars. Like going kaput, after being out there for a little bit, like they still tasted
it wasn't like
good.
we wanted it to go, but it wasn't bad either. Yes, I agree.
Like I wasn't miserable. Like
I just don't think the weather is going to be an issue. I really don't.
I think it may be different.
It may help people too. I mean, the summertime traditional weather, you get thunderstorms. I mean, maybe travel is going to be easier. I don't, it's not so. I don't know. I think it's much to do about nothing. I think about weather in Vegas.
As long as Ben can get back in within an hour of his scheduled landing, that would be fantastic.
My key thing is I just want to be able to smoke outside at the compound.
Yeah, well, so next year, New Orleans summertime, different story, right? I mean, it could be miserable, and that's a city has been. Well, you all know, and I was just there a month ago. The way that's going to be set up in terms of off-site gatherings and everything, you're going to have to be outside a lot more than you are probably going to have to be in Vegas. So that's going to be a whole nother.
Well, that'll be April, so it won't be too bad. I don't know, Ben. You're the New Orleans expert. April, New Orleans.
It'll be awesome in April.
Yeah, I think it'll be good weather there. I think so too.
Cool. Well, here's something that I wanted to bring up. I know we have a mixture of sports fans and non-sports fan on this panel, but there's a major event going on in Vegas.
Oh yeah.
The same week. So traffic, not necessarily show traffic, is gonna be could be problematic. I mean,
you know what though? So I'm a big basketball fan. I've gone years past, whether it was I had a buddy that had a bachelor party over March Madness weekend. I've been there for whatever, and it just seems like anymore Vegas is just jammed all the time. Doesn't matter if there's a NCAA or not. Like I was there again a month ago. It was kind of when Tripp, when you said you went with your wife, it was basically the same time. It was like maybe a week before you said you were there. Now, granted, had 2 hockey games, a UFC fight, and it was the Raiders were playing on that Thursday I was there. So there was a bunch of shit going on, but there's always stuff going on in Vegas. It's always jammed. I mean, it's crowded 24/7. And I think where the convention center is location is not in the heart, really. So it's a little bit off the beaten path, kind of.
Yeah.
So I think we'll be out of that. Now, granted, if you've got to go to a party or you got to go somewhere on the strip, it's going to be a zoo no matter what. It's going to be really crowded with March Madness, but I don't think we really do that. I mean, if you really think about it, I mean, even in years past, I mean, as soon as the show's done, if we stay around, we stay around for an after party or something like that. But this year, I think we've got some different plans, and we'll probably get off the strip pretty quickly. So I don't think it'll be that bad. And like I said, it's crowded there all the time, no matter what.
Yeah, I think last summer there was a bunch of stuff going on. The WNBA All-Star Game. There was a Garth Brooks concert. There was the UFC fight. There was
I want
another
to say
major.
Bruno Mars was there too.
Bruno
for
Mars
something.
was there. Yeah, like
Yeah, it was very busy that week.
Well, now that everybody's doing residencies, I mean, that's the new thing. Well, not new, but like bigger acts are doing residencies. It's crowded. And then you had the Formula One. I mean, it's just, I mean, there's always shit going on there. Always.
It's pretty crazy. But okay. So yeah, I didn't think there was too much to hit on here, but I thought it was worthy of some conversation to find like there's a lot of different other stuff going on. But that's a good point, Aaron. That's a good point. So well, let's dive into the reason why we're going, guys, which is obviously cigars. And so I wanted to bring up something that's we obviously saw the release on Cigar Coop, so Gurkha and none other than Iron Mike Tyson are collaborating on a cigar. So this certainly isn't the first quote unquote celebrity cigar. But I would say, Coop, unless anyone wants to disagree with me, this is probably the first major celebrity collaboration that we've seen since Guy Fieri. With all respect to Chaz Palminteri for his collaboration with Epic Cigars. But I think this kind of is somewhat close to that stratosphere of the Guy Fieri a little bit. So here's my question: Is there a new standard, or does Guy Fieri become more the exception rather than the rule that we've seen in years past with celebrity cigar company collaborations?
I think it's still he's the exception. I think that it's a little unfair for other people doing celebrity collaborations to be compared to what Espinosa did. Although you can't argue the success that Espinosa has had. But I think in the case of Gurkha, I think they knew this wasn't going to be a case where they were going to get Mike Tyson like Espinosa had Guy Fieri. I just think this is a different type of deal. I think Drew Estate knew with James Hetfield, no, he wasn't going to be traveling around with them doing events. But he's promoting the cigar in a different way. He's promoting it at he's smoking it at concerts and things like that. So
yeah, like every concert you see him backstage smoking a cigar.
Yeah. So Chaz has kind of been the closest one, I think, with Guy, as far as Guy goes. He's been out there. I don't want to say he's not doing a ton of events, but he is doing a lot of appearances. So, and he's going to trade shows, and he's done a few events here and there. So he's done a lot of interviews and stuff. So I'd say Chaz has probably been the closest, and he seems to be very acclimated with it. The Tyson thing, I think, is going to be a lot like David Ortiz when he came in. It's going to be more like, these athletes are very used to different book signing events. And it's probably going to be tied to, if you want to meet Tyson in the booth for that 1 hour, you're going to have to make some sort of a purchase. I mean, it's just the only way it's going to work with that.
Probably.
But don't you think? So let me comment on that. So I 100% agree with everything you said, and I'd like to get your guys' opinion on this. But I agree that Guy Fieri is not an anomaly, but the huge success they've had is because of the effort that he's put forward. So you've got, Billy Gibbons doing a cigar now. You got Metallica doing a cigar now. You've got Ocho Cinco. I mean, you can rattle off celebrities that are doing a cigar, but I think because what Guy is doing by way of getting out there, that makes it more the anomaly, success, whatever you want to call it, than anybody else. Because I think others could have success if they would partner with a quote unquote celebrity that was willing to do the
Do
legwork
that.
and get out there in front of people. Otherwise, it's just going to be the Jeremy Pivens of the world slapping his name on a freaking cigar, and then it's like a fart in the wind.
Yeah,
So-
that's a good point. I
Well,
hear you.
that's the most common way. Is really the way it has been before. Guy was basically the celebrity just kind of gave their okay. Okay, you can put my name on this cigar. They had no most the ones that I know of never had anything to do with selecting their own blend or anything.
No.
The worst
Yeah.
was the Jay-Z cigar, the Commodore or whatever.
Yeah.
That wasn't
was
even
it.
like we were specifically instructed in retail shops to say that it was like the JC cigar, but not the JC cigar. Like we couldn't use his name with that. But yet it was the Jay-Z cigar. Like it
But
was the
again,
fucking most dumb thing ever.
But think about who Jay-Z is, right? I mean, if he were to go out there like Guy is, or if you were to get said celebrity that would get out there and do what Guy is, they could have, I'm not saying that maybe it's not equal success, because there's a lot of things that they did right at Espinosa to make that successful, along with being Guy. But Guy is the exception to the celebrity cigar because of everything he puts behind it.
Right. And that
Yeah.
and I certainly want to applaud Eric and his team and Guy, of course, for doing that. But I want to go back, I want to circle back, Coop. You said it's unfair. And that really got my attention. Sorry, man.
Okay,
You're
yeah,
about to get
because
me fired up. Why is it unfair for us to hold Mike Tyson or Gary Sheffield or David Ortiz, who you know is a personal favorite of mine? Why is it unfair for us to hold them to the standard that Guy Fieri has kind of set the bar at?
because Guy Fieri loves cigars like a lot, right?
Okay.
Some of these licensing deals are licensing deals, and it's not about that. And it's about, and look, I'm not saying I like it. I'm just saying this is how it's done in other industries. They license their name to other things on this thing, and that's how they use it. I don't think that it's like Mike Tyson. They went to Mike Tyson. Hey, I don't even think they went to him. I think it's people came to him and said, "Hey, do you want to license a Mike Tyson cigar?" And I'm sure Gurkha said yes. And here's what we're gonna do. But I doubt it got to a point where they were going to say, we want Mike to be kind of doing retail events at Blue Smoke of Dallas or Corona Cigar or something like that. I don't think it got to that, right? I just think it's a different world in a lot of these cases. So I'm not saying this. I know what you're saying, Baron. I understand it. I think some of these celebrities should look at the model that Espinosa has had. And I think some of these companies who are taking these licenses should look at it and say, hey, look, we saw Espinosa have a huge success here with this, and we think we could do the same. That part, I think that some of these companies could do that with.
That's
but
what they
again,
but that's I know exactly where Bear's going with this, and your phrasing, I know maybe you mean it exactly, but
yeah,
it's not unfair, because what they have done now, they've set the bar, or in my opinion, like the industry standard or whatever you want to call it, for the way that a celebrity collaboration should be handled and run.
Right.
And anything short of that, shame on them, because it's not. You can look at every other one, the Ditka cigar, the Gonzalez. I mean, we can take your pick.
Carl
Yeah.
Malone.
Yeah.
What's that?
Was it Carl Malone, right? La Aurora?
Carl
Yeah.
Malone.
yeah, Karl Malone, yeah.
Every example of them have fallen basically flat. And if you don't go off the blueprint that Guy Fieri and Espinosa has set,
Fair point. Yeah, I agree with you, Aaron. I agree.
don't repeat itself to be exactly the carbon copy of the rest. It's just going to happen.
Well, let's go to the Gurkha scenario.
It's a flash in the pan at best.
Yeah.
And that's what, and I think, I'm sorry. I think cigar companies do now, especially now that we've seen it done right and done it with tremendous success over, again, this is still 3 years is still a short term, but I'm willing to give all the credit in the world to Espinosa and to Guy Fieri on this. Now that we've seen what it takes to succeed and that we've seen it at its best, at its pinnacle, I'm sorry, it's almost even more, it's almost even more insulting to the cigar smoker. Or like just say it what it is. It's a flash in the pan. This is a novelty. It's not going to be around forever. It's a limited edition. Companies have no problem saying limited edition on anything else. Why don't they just fucking say it on a celebrity cigar? Make your money.
Yeah, it's a fair point. The other two guys, Bear, that don't get the credit. I know they're not as big names, but the two guys with Howard G, Ike Taylor
Yes.
and Leon Cersei, they have done they don't get the credit of the job those guys have done. By the way,
1,000%. You know what? That's
they're probably the
thank you.
second best example.
That's a great call out. Yeah.
Yeah.
And they're my
Howard
guys. That's insulting.
So-
You're right. That's right.
No,
I did disservice to them.
So here's what I'm saying with this. So Howard has a relationship with those guys. Eric has a relationship with Guy. I mean, I would say Paulie DeSilvia has a relationship with Chaz. But now you get into some of these others, and the relationship is not there. Tyson? Does he have a relationship with Juan Lopez? I guess we're gonna find out. But some of these other guys, we didn't see that relationship come out. I don't think David Ortiz had the relationship with Ram, to be honest with you, at Artista. So
I think from the consumer side, the big difference is you can see when you see Guy Fieri do an event or promoting his cigar, he's not smoking the cigar with his name on it. They put his name on a cigar that they made to be his favorite cigar. So he's promoting his favorite cigar, right? As far as like, if it didn't have a band on it, he would still love that cigar.
Yeah, exactly.
And the Howard G guys, I think, are in the same situation.
Yep.
Yeah.
Leon
Difference
Cersei wanted
is-
that big 60 ring gauge. Yeah.
Yeah. When you're buying a Mike Tyson cigar, you don't feel like you're buying Tyson's favorite cigar. You feel like you're buying a cigar that he gets $3 or $4 from.
Right. Well, that's a difference. Like how involved are the celebrities in this, right? Or is it just an endorsement deal where they're just allowing their name and likeness on the cigar to sell it and they get a piece of the profits? Or is it somebody that's, a true cigar smoker that they want to make a cigar for themselves and hope everybody else loves it too?
Yeah.
Like you just said, but I mean, it's all different, right? Because this is none of this is anything new, right? I remember back in the day, Aaron brought Mike Ditka. Like Mike Ditka did events.
He did do it.
Yeah, so he did several events. Okay, the Lone Wolf. I don't know if anybody remembers that. That was a long time ago. That was the Chuck Norris and Jim Belushi cigar. And they did stuff with that. Like they toured around and did stuff with their cigar as well too. But it's kind of uncommon. Well, look at Karl Malone. Karl Malone was saying, with his cigar, he was at every PCA. But I don't know if he did anything outside of that.
He was at Pro Cigar a lot too.
Yeah.
But what we're saying though is we keep going in circles, so we can probably end this. But at the end of the day, Guy Fieri is a brand ambassador. Right, he is a brand ambassador to his cigar.
Good point.
Not brand ambassador. So if you look at Pete Johnson, he's a brand ambassador of Tatuaje. You look at Rocky Patel, he's a brand ambassador of his cigars. Guy Fieri is a brand ambassador for his line. The rest of them are just license deals that they'll sell whatever 5,000 cigar, whatever it is, and they move on.
Well, my point is why the dog and pony
That's a great
show?
point.
Like, why the dog and pony show? Just fucking call it what it is. Call it a limited edition cigar. It's a flash in the pan.
Yeah.
This is something that's exciting, and we can all but stop the painting of the illusion of just like, oh, blah 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 blah. I mean, think about.
I don't think Gurkha did that though. I don't think Gurkha did that.
No, and this is how I was going to end this conversation.
Yeah.
What I will say is unfair is I'm painting judgment, and then we haven't even seen or smoked or
that's
had
where I was
any
kind of
interaction
going.
with.
That was what I was trying to say. Yes.
Okay, I'm sorry, Coop, because I thought you.
No, and I said it wrong.
As
As Aaron said, I said it wrong. Yeah.
Yeah, it's unfair to judge celebrity cigars up against a guy feeling like I disagree with that, but no, it's unfair to put Gurkha, who's just announced it. This hasn't come to fruition. But I thought it was an interesting point of discussion. So, but Aaron's right. We can put the nail in the coffin with this one. So that'll be exciting to see what comes from this. Because I think Mike Tyson's an interesting name, and I think we'll see what it does for the industry and everything. So, Okay, well, moving on to the next question here. So we've had a lot of conversations. We had this conversation about on the primetime show with Coop and Aaron Loomis about what year is it the year of insert blank, right? And so a lot of us said shop exclusive, but we've seen a lot of the year of the dragons. So
Okay.
here, what will we see more of? That will actually be announced and showcased at the trade show. Will we see more exclusive cigars, or will we see more of the year of the dragons?
Shit, I think we're already seeing it. I've never seen so many year of anything that I'm seeing now. So much dragon themed shit is coming out right now. It is
Yeah.
unbelievable. It is overkill.
Yeah.
The saturation of the dragon theme is unbelievable. I wish this would be the year of the end of the damn zodiac calendar, Chinese
Yeah.
zodiac calendar.
It's
This
not.
shit's getting out.
I already saw the snakes being made down in the Dominican for next year.
I mean,
Oh my
this is
God.
getting
Yeah.
out of control. Like Davidoff has got it. It's their thing. They've been doing it forever, right? Like, okay, keep doing it, whatever. But like, we don't need all of this Chinese shit coming out. I mean, pick another theme. There's so much other shit you can think of. Just pick something else, please. Anything else.
Yeah,
I don't
thank you.
care.
Thank
I
Go
think
you.
with
it's
the
that
damn
China likes
Viking
it.
thing or something.
Yeah, but if you look at the big board, and I don't know, it's a year of, but there's a lot of Ecuadorian tobacco. I mean,
Oh
if,
yeah.
if
Which
you look
is
at,
which is
it's
surprising
surprising.
me.
I
It's
agree.
surprising
Like,
me.
a lot of Ecuadorian rappers.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's a
Big
lot
board.
of stuff going on in Ecuador right now. It's surprising that there's a whole lot of Ecuadorian tobacco.
That's what my
stuff.
reaction was on that too. Yeah,
In
but
in
but
2
Aaron's right.
years,
There is a lot of Ecuadorian stuff still being released this year.
in 2 years that Ecuadorian wrapper might dry up a little bit.
And that's
Yeah,
that was going to be my next. So that's a great point, Tripp. That was going to be my question about this. We are seeing a lot of that and you could say like, oh, people are taking advantage of the crop now, but doesn't that paint themselves into a corner? So now they're faced with if there are. So here's my question to kind of wrap around this: the year of, right, which you as an automatic makes it a limited edition cigar, right? Because you're only going to make it for the year or for one time or a first series
So-
of that.
Yeah,
Or what we're seeing now with with a lot of excess Ecuadorian stuff on the market. As a general observation here, that's what I want to do. I don't want to get necessarily into like, well, this company doesn't do this and this company doesn't do this. But as a general observation, is it now more than ever apparent that cigar companies, the cigar industry is not looking for long-term or longevity success? This is a huge barometer, especially for you, Coop. You look at core line, you look at the standard of excellence across a portfolio being core. That has been one of your biggest sticking points for as long as I've known you. Is it now more apparent than ever that cigar companies are not interested in long-term success? They are looking at more flash in the pan. A little circle back to the celebrity point, but I think it kind of carries weight to what we're saying.
I think with the medium to smaller companies, yes, they are not interested in that. I still think I'm looking at the big four and most of the big four, with maybe the exception of General and STG. I gotta be honest. I'm going to take STG. I don't think STG for me is the one company of the big four that hasn't had their eye on building core lines. I mean, it's just limited release after limited release. But I think if you would alter this, Davidoff and Drew Estate, yes, they have had that focus on that. But you're right. I mean, the news that came out on Friday about Omar's concealed carry cigars said it all to me. Said it all to me that he's going to be implementing a lost and found model. So he must think there's an opportunity for a play to do that. None of those cigars are going to be brand builders for him.
So you think, it's interesting. I didn't think about this when you were talking about what we're going to see a lot of this year or what the show's going to be. I never really thought about it until now. I mean, companies are not putting out core lines. I mean, even last year, I mean, maybe there was a few last year, but I've been saying, for instance, I don't know if this is the best example, but like AJ, he had the Dorado last year, but that was the first core line, what I would consider core line of cigars that he's had in a while. He was blending and collaborating with everybody. Like there is not a lot of core line stuff coming out of these manufacturers.
Yeah, you're right. I think part of that may have to do with, I mean, at a certain point, if you add a new core line, you have to eliminate some core line.
Right.
Yeah.
And we've seen that with like Sober Mesa is with their rebrand, they're eliminating a few sizes. Because you only have so much shelf space in each retailer.
The other part of it is also locking down the stock and making sure that you have the tobacco to support the demand. If you end up having a massive drive of demand with the core line, you got to keep it running. You can't just dump it, in 2 years when you run out.
Yeah.
So limited makes sense for a lot of, especially to Coop's point, small to medium manufacturers. That's what they can afford right now.
Yeah. No, I don't disagree with that. I don't really like the direction. I mean, here's the other thing. When you have a year like this, right, and you have to get something out for the trade show in a much shorter amount of time, it's much easier to get a limited out than it is to get a core line out.
Not gonna put a core line out.
Because a core line requires long-term market planning with this, right? The limited is like, okay, we're going to do 800 boxes and we're done with it, right? So there's not much, they could do a lot less marketing with those types of cigars. But you bring it to the trade show and you check the box. Hey, we got something new, right? And in some cases, a lot of those cases, I would say they're alternate blends. That's kind of like my experience on that. The other point I wanted to make is this: what I've noticed is going out of Pro Cigar for the past few years and Pro Sabor is there are the people who are there's factories who are factory first, like namely their factories, and then they have brands that they may make as their brand, right? But then there's these other brands that eventually go get their own factory, if that makes sense. So sometimes I think like AJ, I think his model, I think the way he may look at his business model is it's factory first, the brand second. And then maybe someone like Rainier with HVC looks at it very differently. He's looking at his brand first and his factory supporting that. So I think there's a little bit of a different. That's why I think sometimes you see people say, "Well, AJ's not focusing on it," but I think it's because he looks at himself factory farmer first, and the brand is just kind of something he layers on top of that.
Well, the most exhausting
if he's
joke. Go ahead, please, Tripp. Go ahead, please.
Oh, sorry. I was gonna say if AJ's coming out with 10 new blends for other people this year, he may not need to come out with his own brand.
He may not need to, exactly. He may look at that as, this is good business for me to do it this way. Because why? I just make the cigars and then I don't have to worry about marketing these cigars. I have Rafael Nadal doing it. I have Justin.
And his name's still on most of them.
And his name's still on it. Yeah.
Here's I think Coop finally cracked the code for one of the the longest running jokes since AJ's been around, which is that AJ makes great cigars for everybody else but himself. I know Ben and Loomis would disagree rather. Excuse me, because I know they're not AJ fans.
I disagree with that one too. Yeah.
But you're not an AJ hater like Ben and Loomis are though, Coop. Like
I don't think Ben is. I think Ben's been pretty fair. I mean, I don't know. I think Ben's got some.
Sorry, haters are probably a bad euphemism. Yeah. I'm just saying he's not fond of the blending. Ben, is that an incorrect characterization of your opinion?
No, that's spot on.
Okay. All right. That's my point. So forgive the bad euphemism of hater. Yeah, it's Loomis who hates everything. Except for the Johnny Tobacco Nut, which I found out last show. That was kind of nice, But
that wasn't AJ. Wasn't that Ventura?
Yeah, it was. Yeah. Ventura. But I think you finally cracked the code there, Coop. That of course, he's going to give his best blends out to other people because they're going to do all the hard work for him. They're going to do all the heavy lifting for him. He does what he's good at, which is the manufacturing part, which is interesting.
Mm-hmm. I think Ernesto was in that mode for a while. Now I think there's a big change. I think there's a big shift. Now he's got big ratings on his stuff. It's changing. And you can see he's had to do a lot of things. But Ernesto was definitely in that mode for a while, for sure.
Yeah, he was doing a lot of great cigars for a lot of good people.
You get two number ones with your brand. Now it suddenly changes like, hey, I'm onto something here. So.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I think so. Here's one. Here's something that I've counted 9. There might be as many as 10. This might be the year of the anniversary. I counted at least 9 anniversary cigars that are coming out. The 30th from La Flor Dominicana, the 20th from Christoph, the 50th from Quesada, the 10th from Warped, the 5th from Casa de Sueños, the 10th from Caffey, and a few more.
Yeah, the 130th with Chris Topper.
Yeah, the 90th with Padron.
I mentioned this in my article today, by the way.
Yeah.
I mentioned that in the article that could be the year of the anniversary as well. So on the Coop article, if you look today, I put the question about Europe, what it could be Europe, and that was one of the choices. I think it's a valid choice. You can make an argument for it.
And I said 90th. I meant Padron 60th. Excuse me.
Yep.
Padron 60th. Rojas's 10th anniversary. You know. So I mean it's interesting now this has been a long go, and then Gurkha's 35th anniversary in 10 count boxes too. That's not really, I don't think that's a 10th, that's 35th anniversary.
That was last year. No, that came out last year though. That was last year.
They're just doing different boxes on it. Yeah.
They were doing that last year. Yeah.
So I think my biggest question from these anniversary cigars, and then Black Star Line Marron is that's his anniversary cigar. So that's the 10th.
Fifth.
Yeah, so that's
Fifth.
an anniversary cigar. Yeah. So it begs the question, which we've seen in the past. Will this be the year that we see a turning point on anniversary cigars, where anniversary cigars will actually be good as a general grouping? Or do we think?
Hope.
I don't think they. It's funny. You're right. It's been mixed results. Like would you count the 100 años by My Father as an anniversary cigar? Or was it a kind of a commemorative cigar to
I think it's
someone?
more commemorative.
Yeah.
I thought it was more commemorative than a company anniversary cigar. I always said the problem I've had with a lot of the anniversary cigars is this: if you're gonna do an anniversary cigar, do it with the factory that got you to the dance. Don't I see a lot of companies, they go and they say, we want to do this special anniversary cigar, but you know what? We're gonna go to a completely different factory that we've never worked with before. And I always think that's a recipe for disaster, because you don't have a relationship with that factory,
Sure.
as opposed to like I look at like Chris Topper is a great example, and he's a small brand. He's had great anniversary cigars. He went and he's been working with the De Los Reyes factory with this stuff, and his stuff is, even Aaron liked one of those cigars, right? Christoph they work with the Tabacalera Von Eycken forever, and they're doing theirs at that factory, and I'm like, that's a good sign that you're doing that. Patina last year, they built the relationship with Noxa, and they stuck with Noxa for that 5th anniversary cigar, which was another big hit. So for people, so I think that's where sometimes these anniversary cigars fall. I'm not trying to pick on Dean Parsons when he did the epic 10-year with AJ. I think that was the wrong movie.
Well, it's funny you mentioned that. I fucking love that cigar.
I thought it was okay.
But no, I think it brings about, I mean, our good friend at Developing Palate, Seth Geis, caught a lot of shit for a similar point that he was making. He caught a lot of flack from viewers and a lot of people about his opinion about Espinosa, our good friends at Espinosa, doing the Las Seis Provincia outside of their family factory, outside of La Zona.
Well, but I think the model's changing with that model though.
Well, and it's different too. That's not an anniversary top. It's not an anniversary cigar, but it is honoring the family's heritage, and they're going outside of their family factory and stuff. So it's a similar point.
Yeah, but they would argue that here's what Hector would argue, and they have a tight relationship with the San Latano factory. They were the first people in there, so they've been there from the day that factory opened. So I think that's where I would say Seth has been a little unfair on that one.
But don't you think? I mean, so I look at it as, and I think it's. So if you're a manufacturer and you're going to put out an anniversary cigar, you would think that you would. I don't want to say they don't try hard on all their cigars, but I would think that they would go above and beyond to make sure that a anniversary cigar is like creme de la creme, right? It's good, whether people like it or not, whatever. They're going to go all out. We've seen, and I think this is where we're going with it, that for me, and I put this in my comments to the group when we were looking forward to the cigars at the show, I put a couple anniversary cigars on there, and I put them on there because you would think what I talked about as they were going to put, 100% effort into it. But we've all seen manufacturers put out anniversary cigars that have fallen flat.
Yes.
And whether that's from a marketing standpoint, whether that's from a blend standpoint, a myriad of different things. So therefore, we're going in with high expectations of what an anniversary cigar should be based on it being an anniversary, yet they don't deliver. So we're going in with some skepticism on what are we going to get from said anniversary cigar. Some people do it well. Some people just kind of say, hey, people are going to buy this because it's our anniversary cigar, and it turns out to not be very good. So we're kind of going in with some skepticism on, is this truly going to be an anniversary cigar to remember, or is it going to be just an anniversary cigar that they just slapped a band on and are celebrating it?
Yeah.
I'll actually give a little, because I don't have all the data. We did our pick, so we published on Thursday on Coop, right? I don't know how much you guys want to talk about it or not, but here's
Well,
the thing.
I didn't want to step on your article, Coop.
I'm not gonna, but okay, yeah, and I'm not. That's okay. I appreciate that, right? So 3 of the 5 guys picked anniversary cigars, and all 3 of you guys had multiples anniversary cigars on there. So there were two people that didn't pick anniversary cigars at all.
Okay.
I won't give them out. That will come out. That's going to be a little art thing I'm going to have in the article because I did notice that. And by the way, there's nothing wrong with that. This is how we're seeing it. So I think the point is I think we're seeing some people are seeing some good ones out there.
Yeah, I think it's more in what I will say about it's funny you said you talked about it falling flat, Erron, because I think they have. And I think this is a really good example. And this is why I'm excited about this particular anniversary cigar. And that's La Flor Dominicanas 30th. The 20th, in a lot of ways, they did that commemorative Stein, which was epic. I own 2 of them.
That was the alternate blend they did, which was so good.
Yeah, and it was really
great.
Was
so you and I love that cigar. Yeah.
Yeah, it was fantastic.
That's the 94, right?
Yes.
Yeah, the 94 Maduro. They did the Maduro and the
Steins. But the regular 94 line, for whatever reason, just never kind of came to fruition. It was almost kind of like the Airbender 2.0 a little bit.
Exactly how I saw it. Yep.
And it sucks it's unfair because I thought the cigar was pretty good.
Right.
And I enjoyed it quite a bit. But when the 25th anniversary came around, Coop, you remember you and I were actually out to dinner with Carney when we had this discussion. He's like, how comes no one's talking about it? We're like, damn, dude, you're right. Like we completely forgot about it. But I mean,
well, because they announced it the day before the show was the problem.
They announced it late, and that was another thing too. But that was such an under radar hit for them. Like that cigar is fucking fantastic. Like that.
Yeah, and they continue, and they were able to continue that in limited fashion.
Yeah, more of a limited production, not limited release kind of fashion. So that's what has me excited about the 30th. They've announced it much more ahead of time. I think that they've been preparing for it for quite a long time, and so I'm really ecstatic to actually try that cigar because I think it'll actually be something of note. Denis, it's been a minute since we've heard from you here in a second. Your take on anniversary cigars here.
I have a thought, and I think maybe we can get into it at a deeper level at the media house behind closed doors. But anniversary cigars, is this what we're calling core lines now? Is this what's going to be in the future? Is anniversary cigars are kind of the new core line where you don't necessarily have to commit to a particular timetable of we're going to keep releasing these as they are. We don't want to do a limited because there's a little bit of a pressure there. Anniversary might be the new core line adjacent.
Well, yeah, good point. Because Perdomo did it last year, right?
Mm-hmm.
Still limited production, but
Perdomo's always done it, right?
Yeah,
they've kind of always done it
for a while.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, Christoph's doing it this year. This is Christoph's 20th is a regular production cigar.
Yeah.
So they're doing
Rocky did the 20th. The deck. I mean, he did it too, and that's a core. And those are core lines.
Yeah,
they are now. Absolutely.
Yeah. I'm not still sure if the Edge anniversary is a core line or if that was a limited run. I haven't really seen it on shelves.
You smoked it?
Yes. Yeah. Well,
hopefully it's limited.
Yeah. It's a fair point. Well, I think that and we've commented this. I think the problem with that cigar was the price point. I mean, we can say that taste is subjective, and I don't think many people on this panel were fans of how it actually smoked either. But I think I think from the edged lover, it really did a disservice to the edge smoker, because there's plenty of edge smokers out there, and I would count I was gonna say I would count myself among the Nicaraguan, so things like that. So, interesting points all around. So okay, cool. Well, we're gonna go ahead and take a quick break here, and go into one of our fun segments, and then we're gonna come back to some more PCA conversation to wrap up tonight's show. And of course, the midway point is always what we always talk about, which is our presidential trivia segment, which is always brought to you by United Cigars, featuring La Giana Havana and distributors of Jose Dominguez, Bandolero, Garofalo, the Firecracker, and the highly acclaimed Atabey, Byron, and Alfonso lines from Selected Tobacco. Smoke one today and start living united. Well, the stage is set, gentlemen. It seems that we will have a rematch in November. Donald Trump running against incumbent Joseph Biden for the president of the United States. So here is your multiple choice question, everybody. When was the last presidential rematch in an election? Was it A, 1956, B, 1856, C, 1864, or D, 1976?
A.
1956. Coop is going with A.
I'm stone cold locking that one too.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'll go with Coop because I have no idea.
Okay. Dennis?
I'm gonna go with, I think, D.
1976. Okay.
Feel D. Yeah.
I think D is a trick question, because isn't that, well, what I'm gonna go with Coop because he's so adamant, because I have no clue, but I think D is like
Yeah,
a
Coop's probably right.
Coop seems so sure, right?
I know. So, but I think D, I don't want to say it's a trick question, but was that Ford? So maybe it's
Mm-mm.
no.
Yeah, I'll help you out there. Aaron. It was Ford versus Carter, 1976.
Oh. Hmm. Hmm.
Yeah. Coop's right.
All right. It was 1956.
Yep.
So
Nice.
we had Eisenhower squared off against Adlai Stevenson in the 1952 election, defeated him pretty soundly. And then actually in an even greater landslide, one of the largest margins of victory in a presidential election, defeated him again in 1956.
There's a whole episode on Happy Days about that. One too.
Only
course
Coop,
Coop
only Coop
knew
would make
because
it
of
so
Happy
proud.
Days.
Happy Days reference. Oh my gosh. The only thing better from Coop would be like a All in the Family reference. Or
Well,
Sanford and Son. So
epic shows, by the way.
which is interesting. Like, so 1980 technically, very by a technicality, is actually a rematch of the 1976 election, because Ronald Reagan actually did win a state in the 1976 election, believe it or not. And then he ran again and obviously won the election against Carter in
He
1980.
won a state in the general election, right? It was something.
Correct.
Yeah, that was even though he wasn't officially a candidate. Yeah.
Correct.
Oh.
Yeah. Interesting
Yeah,
enough.
he was.
Yeah. So almost similar to Ross Perot in 1992. Perot almost won a state. He almost won Rhode Island, believe it or not, which is crazy to think about. But yeah, that would be so 2024 will be the first official presidential rematch since 1956. So interesting. As we move towards November, Coop and I will be covering the presidential election on election night, like we always have, which will always be interesting.
Yep.
I'm excited. We're going to be seeing history, Coop. First presidential rematch since 1956. It'll be interesting to see what the nation does.
I know, and I got to just look. I got to pat ourselves on the back. We have never turned that show into a political dogfight.
Mm-hmm.
It's been we looked at it historically, kind of racking up the votes, kind of a thing, and people really liked it. So and people people have been really respectful of that too. We've asked people leave your politics at the door, and it's a
have.
fun show to do. Yeah, and people have been our fans have been really good about that. Yeah.
Yeah, especially with 2020 being such a to put it lightly, a controversial election. I mean, it was probably one of the most polarizing elections that we've seen in recent history.
If we had stayed on another 2 hours, we would have kind of changed how that show went, though. So it was kind of interesting.
Definitely,
because we thought it was a lot closer when we went to sleep. Yeah.
Hey, Coop, how is that cigar?
Oh, this is great. I have wind kind of blowing in here, so the burn's a little off, but I'm telling you, these LGs are really good. It's just a very
I love that cigar.
Just that sweetness you get, and that it's kind of got that almost that Christmas spice I get with this cigar. It's
delightful.
It's a great cigar. It's got a little kick to it. It's not a mild cigar, I'll tell you that.
Nice.
But but very good.
Ben, are you still smoking the Oro, or did you move on to something else?
Nope. I'm still going at it. Still got a little bit of a ways to go too.
Nice. Aaron, have you moved on to a different cigar?
I did. I moved on. I took the band off. The Casa Cuevas. Which one is this? This is their newer release.
Yes, Sangre Nueva, man. That's the bomb.
Man.
Love it. Which size did you smoke?
Toro.
Okay. All right.
I'm really excited about their new cigar. They won't be at the trade show, the Mandaria Oscuro. I'm very excited about that cigar.
Yeah, that's gonna be good.
Yeah.
Tripp, what about you?
I'm still smoking. Jay clued me in. This is the Rosado Grand Reserva Double Chateau, and it's their event-only cigar.
Oh, okay. There you go. Jay for the win.
Jay for the win.
Sir. All right, Dennis. What about you?
I moved on to an ATL. Good. Yeah.
How are you enjoying that?
I don't know how I feel about this Good Trouble.
You're smoking the Good Trouble, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
What's interesting about it or not interesting about it?
There's a particular wood quality to it, kind of like if you keep burning a wooden match, sort of, right? You get that like really what's the I need to find the English word for this.
I was gonna say that you say it in English. Here it comes.
I wish I had that excuse. When I forget a word, I can't blame it on my English being my second language.
It's like the astringency of a toothpick. If you bite into a toothpick, you get that sort of bite to it. It's kind of like that. So I don't want to shit on it, but I haven't really been enjoying it just yet.
Well,
I don't want to shit on it, but it sucks. It's not very good.
But I think I've got a Karen Berger Habano. I think she's got an anniversary cigar coming out too, doesn't she?
That was a couple years ago.
She actually did release
it 2 years ago.
Yeah, she's another one. Went to another factory on that one.
Yeah,
which I didn't quite understand.
And then, our good friends Enrique over at 1502, he did his with AJ as well, and I like that.
But
cigar.
that turned out to be a good cigar, though.
I thought that was a good cigar
because he had a different vision in mind with that. I think he was planning that for a long time, and that was an exception to that.
I got some interesting comments. I got some interesting to go back to the anniversary part, but before that was, I know we went off topic for just a little bit, but that was our presidential trivia segment, always brought to you by United Cigars, featuring La Giana Havana, distributors of Jose La Giana Havana, also celebrating an anniversary, by the way. So hats off to our good friends Oliver and Dave over at United Cigars.
30
years of La Giana Havana. So that looks like a stellar cigar. That looks like a beauty. I'm stoked.
That's a nice, by the way, that La Giana Havana, nice line, kind of under the radar. I think a lot of people have considered that because that was a two-guy cigar for a long time before they took it national. But it's a very good cigar.
Absolutely. So United Cigars
blend,
featuring La Giana Havana, distributors of Jose Dominguez, Bandolero, Garofalo, the Firecracker, and the highly acclaimed Atabey, Byron, and Alfonso lines from Selected Tobacco. Smoke one today and start living united. So I was going somewhere with this. We were talking about just kind of going back a little bit to the anniversary cigar. I got some messages in the chat because I had Glenn Case on last week and he was talking about the 20th anniversary cigar, and I asked him how long he had been planning it, and he said in a window of about 14 to 18 months, and that's how Christoph's model has been. They tend to work with blends just about a year and a half before it hits the market, and that's kind of how historically they've always been. And I got some interesting questions from people like, well, this is their 20th anniversary. How could they have been only working on it for the last less than 2 years, et cetera, et cetera? I'm like,
No.
when you have a model that works and they keep
Yeah.
on putting in cigars out that are consistent as Christoph, you kind of don't want to break the mold. And I thought speaking of unfair comments, I thought those were some unfair comments that I got. It was interesting. I didn't expect to get. I got several messages on it. Like they thought that it was such almost an insult to the market or something. I was really kind of dissuaded by it, and I explained the same thing several times to several different listeners about. This has always been their model. They really haven't strayed from it. And so, yeah, while this is a very notable and special cigar, I don't think that their approach is going to be any different to it. And I'm for one, I'm still excited about it. So I think that it'll be interesting. The rebrand is probably the one that is most bittersweet to me, with the doing away of the rustic boxes, the loose tobacco, the uncut foots. The pigtails are also kind of going away, but they're still going to be here and there depending on the cigar. But the 20th anniversary will have the pigtail, which I'm excited about.
Yeah.
So that'll be good. Cool. All right. Well, let's go back to a couple of other questions that I have. And we kind of touched a little bit on this. Who in the anniversary? We've talked a little bit about, but what do you guys think is going to be the biggest anniversary hit? Well, I've named off a few. You guys have access to the big board. Which anniversary cigar do you think will be the biggest hit coming out of the trade show? Not necessarily your personal favorites. I don't want to step on Coop's article, but that he'll be releasing, which I'm really excited about, Coop. This is going to be, I'll give you a chance to talk about it here in just a little bit when you take it. But what biggest anniversary cigar are you most looking forward to, Erron?
Well, I think it's I think though, to answer your question, the biggest hit, or how we phrase it, hit's going to be subjective. But if you look at the ability to market and who they are, I think the LFD. I think if you look at Christoph, it just doesn't. I mean, it may be a better, quote unquote, better cigar based on flavor profiles and how we look at it. But if you look at the way that LFD and their foothold in the market, and them coming out with a anniversary cigar, I think it's going to come away with the most fanfare. I mean, you could look at the Casada. We talked about which other one? There was a 20th that I'm forgetting.
The Christoph 20th.
Oh, the Christoph 20th. I think they're going to be. I have high expectations. I'm really looking forward to them, but I think the LFD, based on what I talked about and their ability to market it and just who LFD is, I think that's going to come away kind of with the most buzz.
Ben, what about you?
I would say probably the most commercial success would probably be the La Flor Dominicana one, but I think the best one, is the Quesada, because they just know how to do special releases, right? I mean, every kind of anniversary or commemorative cigar they come out with is freaking amazing. They know how to do that and do it very, very well. So I'm really excited about that one. I think it's probably gonna maybe generate the most fanfare when it's all said and done. To me, is the Quesada.
Okay. Tripp.
I agree with Quesada. I think for me, it is again between LFD and Quesada. I think at the end of the year, Quesada is going to be on more lists and be higher regarded. But I'm also excited to smoke the 5th anniversary from the Casa de Sueños.
Sueños, yeah, I'm pumped.
Because we know those guys pretty well, and I love everything they've made so far.
Yeah, good cigars, good tobacco.
Piloto Cubano in this one, I think.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, Dennis. So, what about you?
For me personally, Sueños, but I think larger scale. I feel in Rojas, man. I think that something's going to be different about this. I have a gut feeling. Could be wrong.
All right. Who did I get to everybody before
I didn't go yet.
Yeah, I'm gonna let you go. I'm gonna go first, Coop, and then I'm gonna let you, because I want you to.
Yep.
I want you
Yep.
to
Yep.
I want you to talk about your article that's coming out. So,
Yep.
and adjacent to it, because you made a comment earlier about it. Well, Jay kind of beat me to it in the chat. I just don't see anyone commercially competing with Padron in the 60th. I think
That's probably a
that
good point.
I think the Padron 60th will by and large be the most popular. I think it'll bring in the most dollars. That being said, I think what quesada is to the Dominican, my father has been to Nicaragua in terms of like just been putting out like banger cigars for the last like 36 months straight. Like everything that they've been putting out is just fucking fire. It's been crazy. Ever since Liga F with quesada, they can't miss. It's been insane. And then my father, what they've been doing for themselves, and then also with in conjunction with like Tatuaje, like their cigars are just incredible. And then their old cigars too, both companies. The Casa Magna Colorado, the original. I mean, it's still smoking way better than ever it was in its original release. I think that I smoked a Flor de las Antilles a couple weeks ago. I bought a box for a event for my day job, just on a whim. I was like, hey, kind of hard to mess with this cigar, and I lit it up, guys. I don't remember it tasting that good, and I've always been a fan of that cigar, and that's been killer. So, but I just don't see anyone really competing with Padron in the 60th. So, Coop, what's your pick? Most commercial success, and then please talk about your article that's going to be coming out later this week.
Yeah, so Bear, I'm leaning towards Padron, okay? But there's three scenarios I have with the Padron, right? And one of them may not be one of them. I'm worried one could actually, if one of them comes through, it may be overrated, right? So the first one is they come out with a whole new 60th like they did in the humidors a couple of years ago. That will be a big hit. The second is they do the Family Reserve 60, which that's their most premium line. I think that will have some buzz to it. But they could go the route of we're going to do a new size off the 64. And that may be a little bit of a miss, is what I'm concerned if that happens, right? I don't think it's going to be that scenario because I think they're going to be doing something at the opening day, but it could be, right? It could be like, hey, they just focus on 60s and 64 is the line, and they do that. I still lean towards Padron. The Casada one is a great cigar. It's limited. The LaFleur one is going to be in humidors, so I don't know how many people are going to get a chance to smoke that cigar. Other than I think those humidors, from what I understand, they're not going to be overly expensive. From what Carney told us, so I still lean towards the Padron, but it may not be the big one that everyone's thinking it could be.
Okay.
I didn't even think about the Padron 60th. So
Yeah, I forgot about it too.
I would change my.
Well, we don't know what we don't know much about it. Carney did
Yeah, it
talk
could
about
be
the 30th
$100. We
on
don't know.
$2.99 at prime time. So he did talk about it, and that's why it's on it. But I don't know what this Padron is. That's the thing. I mean, they could even go something wacky and do something off Damaso. I don't know, but I don't know what they're gonna do with this. But I don't think it's gonna be. I don't think it's under that third scenario. I don't think it's gonna be that, but it could be. Is what I'm saying.
Okay.
So yeah,
talk about your article that's going to be coming out this week.
Yeah, so I basically invited everyone to participate in basically giving predictions for the top 5 cigars at the trade show. And this is something I've been doing when I was a solo guy. And it's the question I get, what are you most looking forward to coming into the show? And then as the team expanded, well, this would make sense to get everyone's point of view as opposed to one person's point of view. So I've been inviting everyone to do that this year, and it gets a lot of interest, and it usually generates some controversy and is whining. Well, how come I'm not on the list? It's like, wait till you guys maybe not know what you signed up for. So it is a key one. It's a big art. So it is a good article, and I've asked everyone to give me a quick spreadsheet. Dennis, you're welcome to participate in that too, by the way.
Yeah, I was gonna ask. I still have a little time, right? Tomorrow morning I can put it in.
You have time, and everyone could change it up until like even Wednesday, right? So
Okay.
if something comes out, change it. It's just I have to get the framework in place for the article and kind of look at it, right? So yeah, absolutely. I even invited John this year as well, and if he wants to do, it's optional, but because he's gonna be hanging around with us too. So I said if you want to do, but it gives everyone a chance to get everyone's point of view. I don't want to like force my way of thinking on everyone else's way of thinking, right? So I like the fact that we have like give everyone the creative things to do it. And I looked at the list, and by the way, everyone had really good lists. So it's like I think it's cool. I go a little different. I think everyone knows I go a little different mine because I stick with only regular production with mine. That's my choice, but I did not put that restriction on anybody else because there are some really good limiteds out there, is what I would say too. So yeah, that comes out on Thursday. Friday, I picked my prediction for the best company at a trade show. I've kept that one solo because it's a little more of a writing chore. At some point, maybe we'll expand that one. But if
Coop
anyone
wants
has,
to monopolize all the hate mail. He wants to make sure he gets all the hate mail on it.
well, that's a more complex article to write. And at some point, I didn't want to throw that on you guys yet. You're welcome to give me anything if you guys have that. Where I pick one company I think is have a great trade show. That's changed over the years. It used to be the company that had all the releases. Now I look at it a little differently because not everyone's doing a lot of releases this year. So there's about 4 or 5 companies I have in mind that could steal the show this year. And that article I usually write on the plane going to Vegas. So yeah, stay tuned on that. But like I said, it's and then when we do our recap shows, we tend to kind of go back to those and we kind of grade them and see how well we did, what did we miss? There was always a cigar we miss every year that was like, wow, this cigar, I think the one I remember that we missed was the 100 Años that year with my father. Because that cigar, we got those samples on the floor, and when we smoked them, how good were they, right?
Yeah, I picked the other one. I picked the Florida Antilles anniversary for being the better cigar. I was a miss on my part.
Right. I mean, we did. I think I would have picked that one too.
Yeah, but I think a lot of the misses sometimes come because of the lack of marketing or lack of knowledge we have going into it, right? It's limited.
Yeah.
I mean, look at the big board all of a sudden starts filling up unexpectedly, whatever the case may be. So sometimes we don't. Some stuff's not even on our radar.
Right. We didn't know about La Union last year. La Union, I thought was the best display at the trade show. Like I thought that was the best presentation. Because Erron, you probably took the pictures of it on day one, and I remember that night when I was looking at the pictures and I saw this, I'm like, holy cow! How did we not know about this one? Right?
Thanks, Pete.
Thanks, Pete. Yeah.
Well, he had kind of teased it the year before in our interview with him.
He did.
But there was no details about the project, just that they were going to be doing something.
Do you remember the year with Fuente Padron? We made a decision not to include Fuente Padron. We had no clue what that cigar was going to be, and I noticed that's why no one did Padron 60 this year on that list, right? And I don't think I'm giving anything away because we don't know what that's going to be yet. We have ideas of all these other ones. Some we have more ideas than others, but yeah, we that's what I'm saying. It's a tough one to do, and there's stuff that comes out at the show that we obviously miss.
For sure. So I saw Dennis pouring something into his glass, which brings up the next point of topic. So there's going to be a new booth or area this year at the trade show, and the second year in a row of a newer component to the trade show, which of course I'm talking about respectively the Spirits Pavilion and the BCA Pavilion makes its second appearance on the trade show floor. Now we didn't cover too much of the BCA Pavilion last year in terms of interviews. There was significant coverage on Coop for his coverage of the trade show as a whole. But as a group, we didn't really do any interviews from that pavilion. So here's the basic question, and then I want to hear reasons why. Do we predict that there will be more traffic in the Spirits Pavilion or the BCA Pavilion? Thoughts? And Dennis, I'll start with you. I know you don't have the knowledge of the BCA traffic because you weren't there last year, but just your gut. What's it telling you? What's going to have more traffic?
Well, first off, tell me about the BCA. What is the BCA Pavilion?
Coop's laughing on the inside now.
We tried to figure that one out now.
So the BCA Pavilion. So the BCA Pavilion. This is actually. in its
It's a good-
essence, I think it's a very good concept. So BCA, of course, is the Boutique Cigar Association of America, and
Oh, that.
so these are very, very small companies. When we think of boutique, we think of like we think obviously of smaller companies like Casa de Sueños, HVC, and other companies might get into the argument, say they're boutique when they're really not, but that's another issue for another day or another topic. But BCA by and large has very companies that are very, very small, may have a regional presence or even like a state presence and stuff like that. They're just starting out, but are nonetheless belong to this organization, and it gives them the opportunity to display their cigars without having to commit the tens of thousands of dollars to a traditional booth space. It's more a TPE style with the stand-up displays and stuff like that. So but they have an old pavilion where these cigar companies can set up.
Interesting. I think I mean gut feeling Spirits Pavilion, but only by nature of the fact that the show is happening earlier in the year, and at this point, the people that are coming out either have already done their business or are not yet ready to do business for the coming year.
Yeah.
So they're just where else are they gonna go, right? They're gonna go hang out Spirits Pavilion, talk to people. Maybe BCA Pavilion, I think, will have some good foot traffic, but I don't have a lot of context on that. But I think Spirits.
So can I give a little spoiler here that may change everyone's answer? Because this is probably info you guys don't know. There's only 3 spirits companies this year, and there's 16 BCA companies.
Oh wow.
So now I'm not saying the spirits aren't going to have interest, is what I'm saying, but that's something to just consider. So I would look at it as maybe a per booth way to look at it.
Yeah, that helps. And do you know who's coming out for Spirits?
Yeah. So they have Florida Caña is one. They're doing obviously Florida Caña rum. What's it?
E.H. Taylor.
No, Elian Jimenez from the Dominican Republic. They're doing their rum, right? So they got they got the 2 main rums out of the
rum and more rum. Those are your choices, everybody.
That's helpful.
Right. The third one is a whiskey company. And the whiskey company, I'm gonna just pull up the name here. It's Uncle Nearest. Uncle Nearest.
Oh,
Wow. Okay.
wow, that's great.
So
Super
yeah. So, and here's the idea with this. They're starting small with this, the PCA. It's a new thing. There's logistical issues they're going to have bringing spirits on the floor and stuff like that. So they're throwing a test balloon out here. So they purposely kept this small from what Scott told us, right? But not to say those are not 3 great spirits things that are out there and people are going to be interested in. And I've seen Florida Caña, and I've seen Elian Jimenez support the festivals, and they do a great job at this. And then obviously Uncle Nearest, you guys are very high on this. So that's not a bad, it's a small lineup is what I'm saying. I can still see those booths maybe have more traffic than some of the individual BCA booths, but maybe not the overall foot traffic.
I think they may turn into the sort of coffee stop adjacent.
Yeah. I think you nailed it, Dennis. I think you nailed it. That's exactly what I'm thinking.
Yeah, I think depending on how willing they are to pour me a glass of whiskey
at 9 o'clock in the
9
morning,
a.m. rum will determine how much foot traffic they have.
Yeah.
If you can go in there and just grab a glass, they're gonna have way more foot traffic than BCA, I think.
But you've seen Tripp and Dennis have been to the festivals, so you guys have seen how these companies they support these festivals very well. They know what they're doing here, is what I'm saying. I think they know what they need to do at this trade show this year.
Yeah.
All right, so Tripp and Dennis and Coop have all chimed in. Let's hear from you, Erron. What do you think?
I could see the spirits pavilion, if you will, where people may congregate more, right? I mean, you look at, go to any event where the food and the booze sit, people tend to
they go there. Yeah, they go there. That's what I'm saying.
Go to linger around, and they'll stick around there more than they will. So I think overall traffic, I think the BCA will, but I think in terms of maybe perception, it may look like there's a lot more in that that
That's-
spirits pavilion because people sit there, right? You're gonna get some
Yeah, that's why I wanted to clarify it for everybody.
some
So
wino hanging out there drinking
yeah, yeah, yeah,
9 to
Yeah.
6.
Yeah.
So I think you may have the look or the perception that it's well attended just because people are gonna sit and congregate. But I mean, in terms of overall traffic, God, I hope just by nature of the numbers, I would think that the BCA will have overall more foot traffic. But again, look, the food and booze set, that's where people have a tendency to gravitate towards.
I'm actually the BCA. There's one booth that I think is going to be a very interesting booth. It was just added. Is La Serena is going to be in the booth this year in the BCA.
Oh,
That was a late ad, by the way. Over the last week, I noticed.
any more Mexican mermaids or something?
Yeah, and I know Ariel is coming back at some point. Danny told me. I don't know if she's coming to the show or not, but Danny
wow.
told me Ariel's getting ready to come back.
That's what, almost a 7-year absence, isn't it? It's been pretty.
Yeah, I mean, I
Yeah.
think she had a couple of children along the way. So
That'll be interesting. She put the brand on the map,
Mm-hmm.
she did
And-
very good cigars. I mean, that original, that Connecticut broadleaf, which I wish they still made, was one of the best.
I think the Porthole is probably one of their underrated cigars and stuff.
And but the Mexican releases that Danny was working on, particularly the 10th anniversary, and then those 2 follow-ups were really good. He was getting some of the best blends out of Hostos Casadas' factory.
Interesting. Well, all right. So, I guess Ben, we need to hear from you on this.
I mean, I think the most successful will probably honestly be the Spirits Pavilion. I think it will do really well enough that they'll expand it next year. But
I think so too.
I think the BCA Pavilion, that area, that will have the most traffic because, I mean, the whole point of the show is cigars, right? So you having retailers that's going to want to go, add something unique to their humidors in their shops. So they're going to go to the BCA, and they'll be purchasing there. There'll be a lot of traffic there. Especially with 16 individual booths in there, that's a lot.
Mhm.
So I think you'll see a lot more people there. But I think in overall success wise, I still think the Spirits Pavilion is going to be it's going to be a big deal. Really is. I mean, but it's limited too, right? Because I mean, all of us really have had pretty much all 3 of the stuff from all 3 of these companies. So it's kind of be a novelty thing at first, right? And you do have some shops that are, cigar bars, or they have a bar in their shop or something that will go by, and mainly for networking, if anything, right? But all in all, the people there are there to buy cigars.
Yeah.
So they'll be at the BCA.
Yeah. And I applaud the PCA for not opening the doors too much to the Spirits this year. Get it going. Build on it every year, and I think it could be something that we see for many. Scott, this was something Scott wanted to do. Barry, remember when we first interviewed him back in 2017? This is something he's been envisioning to do for a long time.
1,000%.
And this is the first year he's getting it off. And I think it's more challenging because, again, taking liquor on the floor and stuff, it's kind of tricky in Vegas from what I heard. So that was some of the challenges. So I think they're starting small to see how it works. If they put like 15 companies in Vegas, throw the monkey wrench into it, that's not a good idea. So I think it's a good move that they're making with that.
Here's where, for any retailers listening, or any consumers out there who have close ties to their person retailer, here's what I would say about the BCA Pavilion. I strongly encourage retailers to go there. And here's why. You have a really good opportunity, first of all, to build some really strong relationships with on the ground level with some of these companies. And what you could be looking at with some of these companies that are in the BCA Pavilion, for example, there are some that have been around for a number of years, some that are just getting started, as I mentioned. But you have the opportunity to catch someone at the right time.
Yeah.
You could catch the next Crux or the next HVC. These companies that, have, in their first 10 years have kind of 10 years, 7 to 10 years have really blossomed into well-known national brands with really, really fantastic cigars. So I think you have the opportunity to really latch onto a company at its ground level. And there's probably not a lot of buy-in that these companies are asking for. There's probably not minimums or that a lot of these companies are going to be implementing. I don't want to put words in any of the mouths of BCA Pavilion participants, but could be opportunity to catch the next big thing. So just,
it's no secret I was very critical of them for a while, but the last 2 years the BCA has kind of grown up. They've started to now really act like an organization as opposed to a Facebook group. That's how they were operating 3 years ago, and I was very critical of them. Gabby and I had some words on it. We've talked, and I think the changes they've made in the last 2 years, I give them a lot of credit. They still have some work to do, but I think this was a great move for these guys going to the trade show, and they had traffic in there last year. We were all wondering how it was going to be received. We were in the Altadis booth, and we saw all the traffic there that day. So I think I gotta say, I think I've liked what they've been doing the last couple years.
All right. So moving on to this question, we're going to kick up our segment portion of the show, and I'm going to do some rearranging here. We're going to start things off with our curveball segment. Yes, Dunbarton Tobacco and Trust curveball segment. Fastballs or curveballs, it doesn't matter. Since the company's inception, Steve Saka's been knocking them out of the park. Count them up, boys. 9 consecutive years in the consensus top 3. Congratulations to our good friend, Mr. Steve Saka. So here is our curveball question for the night. Fast forward to the end of the PCA. It's a week from Tuesday. We're all exhausted. We've had a fine time of camaraderie, coverage, smoked a lot of cigars, shaked a lot of hands, kissed a lot of babies. We've done the song and dance, and hopefully we'll have full bellies from some great meals. A lot of good stuff, a lot of great memories. What do you want to look back on for this PCA and say what? What do you want to look back on? And it could be a success. It could be a failure. It could be just say, I hope that this year's PCA is X. So think about that for a second. And again, this is what's always great about the curveball segment. It's up to interpretation. So there isn't any hard or fast line rules to this question. It's just like, what do you want to look back on at the end of the PCA and say what? So Ben, I will start with you.
Of course you would.
You've been to the most trade shows, so I think it's only fitting.
Yeah. I think we'll look back on and say that the move to March was a good move.
Yeah.
I think would be for me the biggest thing. I think we'll probably I think having the trade show in the spring, I think they'll see an uptick in actual retailers coming out and purchasing at the show than they did at the middle of the summer for many reasons. One we touched on, which is something I heard a lot over the years, was a lot of people didn't want to leave their shops during the busiest time of the year. That's why they would come out for maybe a day and go back if they win at all, really. So I think moving it to spring will be a good time. I mean, not to mention, like we were talking about, the weather would be a lot better. But I just think it's a better time of the year for retailers and manufacturers too. This one's going to be a little bit different because it's coming off the heels of the last one. I mean, we're not even a full yearly cycle here. So, but I think like maybe next year when it's in New Orleans, I think we'll see a lot of new releases at next year's show for sure. This one, because it's so short, we're not seeing as much going on, but I think a lot of companies will be a lot more prepared for it next year. So I just think it's a better time for everybody to be moving where they are in March and April. So I think we'll be looking back on there and say, PCA did a really good move by moving up the show earlier in the year.
Tripp, what about you?
I was racking my brain, and I think Ben nailed it. I think the move to the spring is the way to do it, and I think it's going to make a noticeable difference. Not only because of the. I mean, I'm just reiterating what Ben said, but anyway, I think that the weather will be a huge part of it because in the middle of the summer, it was always like just going out and waiting for your Uber was awful.
Yeah.
Like, it's so hot. You're standing out there in the middle of like every trade show I went to, you couldn't get an Uber right at the door. You had to go stand out in the parking lot to get your Uber. You couldn't be under the shade. So you're standing out there and the ground is 140 degrees and your shoes feel like they're melting. Oh, miserable. But most stuff's inside anyway, so it doesn't make a huge difference. But I think it will make a difference in just the way we feel after a week in Vegas.
Okay. Aaron, what about you?
I don't disagree with what Tripp and Ben said. What I'm going to say, so each year that I've been fortunate enough to be at the PCA, it seems as though whoever the collective group has started to beat to the same drum, meaning marching towards the same goal each year and getting more on the same page. I mean, I remember the first year it was like people complaining about lack of communication. People hated this. There was infight. It's going to be that still. I get it. I know that. But I think a little more harmonious, right? So I think each year it seems like everybody is now, with the FDA, that the FDA was looming large over several years back. I mean, it's still going to be there, but I think getting everybody continued more alignment with the ultimate goal of this boutique industry that we're part of. I think that sometimes we all collectively, they, whoever you want to say, sometimes our own worst enemy, kind of get in our own way. And I think coming out of this year, I think it's going to continue that path of better synergy. That's what I hope. I mean, God, who knows? You could have fires and you could have who knows what else. But at the end of the day, I think that the cigar industry, especially coming out of COVID and that kind of a little bit of a mini boom we had or whatever, I think people are better off. And I think that we're collectively aligning better each and every year. And I hope that path continues out of this year.
Okay. Coop, and then I'll go to Dennis.
I'm not 100% sure the move to the spring is going to make a difference yet. Although it could, right? Because we have the big three of the big four back. It could, right? I have some hesitation in how I'll look, but I think there's something, I'm looking at it a little differently. I'm looking at this more as a reflective type of thing. And when we leave the convention center on Monday, it's going to be the end of an era. The past 9 years, 8 trade shows, because there was one that was canceled. We've been in Las Vegas, and Las Vegas has become this hub for the cigar industry. I know we've been to a couple of convention centers, but it's still been a hub for the cigar industry. There's a vibe to Vegas. There's a feel to Vegas. We know how it's going to be. And we're going to look back and we're going to say it's the end of an era for a while, at least. Because it's going to change next. New Orleans is a different animal for a trade show next year. I think it's going to be there 2 years. So for at least the next 2 years, we're probably going to be it's going to be different. And I think we should look back, and Vegas has its ups and it has its downs, and the PCA's had its ups and downs. But I think we'll look at this and we're going to really reflect back that it is the end of an era for us of the cigar industry. We had, like I said, a long run in this city. So, and that's how I'm going to look at it. And I think, we go into New Orleans next year, we're going to unfortunately, everything's going to be judged on this run we've had in Vegas. So I'm going to be a little sad. Just like I was sad when we walked out of the Venetian last year, I was sad because the Venetian was such a big part of this trade show. I'm gonna be a little sad probably coming out of there. Not that I'm down on New Orleans. I think we can. I think the PCA is gonna do a good job. The fact that we have Ben on this team, there's no better representative of that city. So
Yeah.
I know we're gonna have a good time, but it's gonna be different, is what I'm saying. So I think we're gonna look back, and we're not gonna have the ramen meal, next year. I was thinking about it.
Po' boys is going to be the new tradition.
We're going to have something
Yeah.
different next year. We're going to have to go to something different next year. The ramen, is going to come to an end and all. So it's those types of things I think are going to go away next year for that. So I'll be a little sad with that. And I think we've done media compounds every year. I didn't do 16. I didn't do media compound, but every year since then I've done a media compound with Erron, and we'll have a different media compound, with a different vibe, different neighborhoods. So I'm gonna be, like I said, sad, but I think I'm gonna look fondly at what we had at these trade shows, because it was more than just like going on the trade show floor for me.
Definitely. I think we still should make a concerted effort to get to Yardbird at some point this year.
We
That's
have
what
an open night to do it. We have one open night to get the Yardbird, by the way. We just have to make a reservation, but we got to get someone to. Well, we could talk about that. We great if we can go with someone to Yardbird.
For sure. All right, Dennis.
I thinking about this whole celebrity format and kind of the way that the business model is working for celebrity cigar releases. I think by the end of this year we'll see definitively we'll have a feeling on, is this going to be a model that's going to sustain itself and live on going forward, and
Good one.
we'll expect to see more other celebrities coming in and fitting into that model, and there's a proper format, or it'll just fizzle out, and we'll see even less cigar stuff related to celebrity releases in the future. It'll be
Yes, that's a good observation, because you want to wonder if we've seen more and more, like we're seeing the athletes smoke cigars, when they win championships and stuff like that. More always, I could see this. Yeah, I think it's a good thing to see how this is going to evolve in the next few years.
Good points. Gentlemen, we got two more questions on the docket before we call it a night. So let's go into our Everybody Eats segment, sponsored by Pastania Cigars. Actually, yes. Yeah, we'll go there. Pastania Cigars. If you always make sure that your servant's towel is bigger than your appetite, everybody will always get theirs. Pastania Cigars is more than just great cigars made by cool people. They embody an attitude of gratitude and grit. With Pastania, everybody eats. Now we're going to change up this question, guys. I mentioned Yardbird, and we all have been to Vegas and we've had some memorable eating experiences. Sans eggs for Tripp and Coop, but great meals nonetheless. So, what is your favorite meal experience in all the years of going to PCA trade shows? It doesn't have to be Vegas. For Coop and Ben, you guys have attended trade shows outside of Vegas. But yeah, what is your favorite eating experience, meal experience, dish experience at PCA, or previously IPCPR, or in Ben's case, you can throw in RTDA as well?
It's not TPE, right?
No,
TPE does not count. Okay.
This is PCA.
Okay, it's PCA. Okay.
That's a little bit tough, considering I've been to several trade shows in New Orleans. Go ahead, go. What are you gonna say?
No, I think I know mine, but go ahead. I want you guys to go. Yeah.
So, I'll be honest. The one that I enjoyed the most actually was this is actually, but I was still with Stugger View, and we were there. I think it was 2018, I think, or I think it was 18. I went with Brian Hewitt, and I went with my local shop owner in Biloxi, with him and another shop owner, a good friend of mine that's in Destin, along with a couple of our reps, to an Italian place that's in Vegas called El Molino's, and it is fantastic.
I've been there. I have been there. Yeah, it's off the strip, right?
Yeah, no, it's in
Oh, no, I'm
the
thinking of another one. No, you're right. It's in Caesars.
yes,
Yeah,
it
it's in Caesars.
is.
Yeah, yes, that's where
Yes.
it is.
Fantastic food. It's upscale Italian food. It is the wine list is spectacular. But I just remember it because one Italian food's my favorite food. I love Italian food. We went there, which a really good. The food was stunningly good. The wine was great. I mean, we were there for like it seemed like forever, but just great conversation. It was a good time. Just sitting down and having a meal with a bunch of good friends and stuff, and it was really fantastic dinner. And we actually did it the next in 2019 as well, kind of replicated the whole thing with all the same people. That was probably the best dining experience I've had at any of the RTDAs or IPCPR, PCA, whatever, all of them. That's probably my favorite.
Awesome. Dennis, I know you've ventured in some pretty unique places, including
have.
mezcal bars and other venues and stuff. What was your favorite dining experience of all the PCAs that you've gone to and IPCPRs? Because this is actually your first PCA technically, so IPCPRs.
Oh,
yeah, technically it's right. It's my first PCA. Also having spent a lot of time in Vegas, generally 2, maybe 3 times a year, there's one place that I always go to is Bazaar Meat. And for better or worse, I always lately, last couple of years, I've been getting the I think it's called the Ultimate Tasting,
Yep.
whatever the full tasting menu is. And I think that's always been my most memorable happy experience, my happy feeling. Although the last time I was there, I thought I was gonna have a heart attack when I left.
That's not you weren't at the trade show for any of those though.
I was not at the trade show, sadly. Trade show meals. Oh man. It's hard to say. I like that taco joint that we went to, Mambacho, right? The Mambacho party in the art district, which was really cool, across from that really fun beer bar.
Oh,
But
right.
yeah, the beer bar was cool, man. But I can't remember everywhere else we sat down to eat. I distinctly remember being completely bloated from cigars and alcohol and just like I can't eat. I'm full. I feel uncomfortable.
Right.
Yeah,
Okay.
getting old sucks, I guess.
What was the name of the taco place? Do we know? We remember? Anybody?
I have no idea.
Yeah.
I don't remember the name of it. I know where you're talking. I know it's right off Las Vegas Boulevard, in the Old Town area.
Yeah.
I just don't remember the name of it.
We stumbled. Remember the
I'll find
Drew Estate event that we went to my first year there, Coop? It was when they released Cinco de Cadas.
Yeah, that
loaded
was
and
that
we
was at that. Yeah, the
and
famous.
we stumbled into a taco joint in Old Town.
Right.
And
Yes,
and that was fucking good. I
Yeah,
remember that.
yeah.
That was cool. Cool. Well, all right. Erron, what about you?
I don't have a lot to draw on. I mean, especially from the PCA, it feels like the Luciano dinner was good, but I don't know. I almost like I've always said to you guys in the chat, I'm poor white trash from Rockford, so it doesn't take me much to be satisfied. So I always like our ramen at the end of the festivities. It's more, I mean, great. The food's great. I mean, when I went to Vegas this last trip, when I said was there in December, I took my wife and my father-in-law there. Same place. I think I sent you guys a photo from it.
Yep.
The food's good, but for me, it's more about like winding down, end of kind of, we're all exhausted, but it's just a lot of fun. I mean, it's a good memory, right? More so than the food. So I'll probably just go the ramen to be kind of lame. I don't have, again, a ton of, because a lot of the food that we've gone to before, and we did the Yardbird, we've done I think we did the Drew Estate or the whatchamacallit, the what's their names? Make the Julius Caesar, Jesus criminy.
JC Newman.
Diamond. Yeah.
Dinner.
Yarbird. That was a good one that year.
So we've eaten, with Chinese and everything, but yeah, I'll go with the ramen because I don't have a ton of kind of intimate dinner type places. So hopefully make a new memory this year.
Well, we have a couple good ones this year, so yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I like how Coop assumes like there's no robbing places in New Orleans.
I know, right?
I know.
Well, that's true. That's true. I don't know if we want to do ramen in New Orleans either. So
I think at the end of the trade show will feel like ramen.
Yeah, it won't
Yeah.
feel like it won't feel
Ramen,
like a
that
trade show.
hot broth in your face.
that's
Like,
why if they're
It just
being on
feels
that,
so good after smoking.
that's what kind of
150
started
cigars.
that. Yeah.
I have a backup place just in case. Don't worry
Awesome.
about it.
All right. Tripp, what about you?
Man, I can't. I've been going through like trying to catalog all of the dinners I've had in Vegas and trying to figure out which ones to narrow it down to. Dennis, was it 2019 when we went to that? No, it was 2018 when we went. We had an Airbnb. This was the year we had a disaster of an Airbnb.
Oh yes.
And we
You know that place.
and we found this bar down the street that it was like this shitty dive bar with a there's a local, not really a chain, but there's a couple of pizza places called Naked Pizza that's really good.
Naked City Pizza.
Naked City Pizza.
Yeah, man.
And they had a Naked City Pizza in the back. It's just like it's one of those half doors, you know, like the door where it's just a door on the bottom and the top part opens. And at like 5 or 6 o'clock, they open that door and then they're making pizza. And we had some awesome pizza at that place with the suicide sauce and just some shenanigans like getting the jukebox turned off because of our music selections. I think though my favorite was that Mombacho one, the second Mombacho one that we went to, which was the one where they rented a house and Claudio like made spaghetti bolognese or something like that for everybody. Like, you know, this guy from Italy who loves cooking spent hours making dinner for everybody. And it was crazy
Really
good.
It was really good. Those meatballs, I remember. Yeah,
Oh,
everything
yeah.
went. All the food went. By the way, there was like
Yeah.
nothing left over.
I still
Yeah, we
remember
picked
going
those
to his
bowls clean.
house. Remember when he
You don't-
cooked for us at his house? It was wild.
Oh yeah, when we were in Miami. Yeah, that was cool.
Well,
Yeah,
I
I
have
think
a-
that's mine.
I have a spot in New Orleans that could kind of replicate that a little bit.
There you go.
There's a place called Erron Rose. It's just a little bit north of Bourbon Street, right? And it's in the back of it. Well, I assume it's still there. In the back of it, it's kind of Erron Rose, is kind of a famous bar there. But in the back is one of the top po' boy places in all of New Orleans called Killer Po' Boys. It's the same thing. You
Let's
walk to the
go.
bar, and it's just like this little, you know, little window. You can see them cooking back there in the half door and all that shit. It's the same thing, man. But the po' boys are spectacular. And it's been years since I've been there. I'm assuming it's still around, but who knows after COVID. So
Yeah.
Dennis, I don't know how you found it so fast, but Jammy Land, that was the taco place.
Because I remember the beer bar, Beer Nuts, across the street.
Yeah. I don't know if it was Jammy Land, but it's definitely the same location.
It was 100% Jamie Land.
It was? Okay.
Yeah.
So it was a cocktail bar that also did tacos and stuff.
Jamaican reggae, but also taco. Place.
Yeah.
Awesome. Coop,
Place
what
was
about you?
great, but it was so hot. God.
Coop.
So, I'm gonna take out Bizarre Meats that I went to at TPE first with Raphael and then with Joe Grow. I'm gonna take those out because those aren't counting. But Bear, I think you know this one. 2019
Yeah. You're gonna say it.
MB
This is gonna be MB Steak.
MB Steak with John Carney.
Yep. 1000%.
That's all you need to know. And when we got there, remember we went to it was at the Hard Rock.
Hard Rock Cafe, yeah.
Right. And Carney invited us to dinner. And we basically got to that dinner and we just said, John, you figure out what we're going to order. Right. We put all the faith in John. And John Carney, he does not disappoint. The tomahawks were coming out. There was more food than you can imagine. The food was excellent. Those steaks were excellent. Afterwards, we went and smoked some LaFleurs.
Yeah.
I remember we were supposed to smoke the
Andalusian
25.
bowls. We smoked the Andalusian
Smoked
bowls.
Andalusian bowls. We were supposed to smoke 25th. He couldn't get the 25th, but we smoked Andalusian bowls. That was right? We smoked them at the Hard Rock. To me, that was by far the best dinner that I ever had at PCA, and I was very grateful that we got invited that year.
Yeah, that was my pick too. That was my
Yeah.
pick. Absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah, I figured that was gonna be your pick as well. So you get the John Carney experience is all I gotta say.
Yeah.
So
It was epic.
which
Epic
was
night.
really nice to him because he's in a lot, they have a lot of customers and they took some customers that night too, but we got invited to that night. I think it was memorable. I don't forget that. I don't think MB Steak's open anymore there. Either that or it moved or something. But it was really good.
Yeah, very good. Yeah, I think it
Yeah.
moved. Yeah, but yeah, definitely my favorite experience.
Yeah,
yeah,
with
John-
MB Steak.
John Carney does not disappoint. for sure.
Just like I said, put faith in Carney with that. You don't he's not gonna let you down.
Absolutely. All right, guys. Well, we've come to the conclusion of our night, and we normally end with the curveball segment, but I wanted to end with a different spin tonight. So this will be our last segment for the night, which is brought to you by Asylum Cigars. Refuge is more than just a physical place. It can be a state of mind. Some of life's greatest reflections can be found in our own personal asylum. Moments like these were made for Asylum Cigars. So light up an asylum and choose your refuge. Now, this goes against the asylum principle, which is by yourself, but I thought it would be an interesting exercise, given all the years that we've been to trade shows and the amount of cigars, both good and bad, that we've all smoked. Especially the cigars getting what I call Vegas or Vegified.
Right.
But every so often, we get a cigar sample off the trade show floor that just fucking hits. It fires on all cylinders. It's everything we want it to be. Maybe it catches us off guard. Maybe it doesn't. But it's that memorable smoke, that memorable cigar experience on the trade show floor. And that's what I want to hear from you guys. What was that cigar that you lit up on the trade show floor that just blew you away? And maybe it didn't deliver when it hit a market. Maybe it didn't. I don't care. But I want to say, from the trade show floor, you lit it up, and at that moment that was a winner for you. So I'll give you a moment to think about it.
The one that pops into my mind is one that happened to us recently. It was a La Aroma de Cuba, Connecticut. And
Yeah.
Last year.
yeah. I don't remember, like I've said this on multiple of our shows about how like when I'm filming, so I don't smoke cigars mostly during the trade show. But at this instance, we had a little bit of extra time, and we went to the Ashton booth. Was sat down with Andy Green, and he went and got a personal stash of his La Roma de Cuba Connecticut's in the Corona size, and passing them out, right? And I forgot we couldn't start filming immediately. So I thought, okay, what's a Corona? I got some time. Let me go light this up because I was dying for a cigar. And I remember I lit that thing up. I was like, holy shit. And I think y'all had the same experience too, because we kind of like lit up and all like this and go, oh my God, this thing is phenomenal.
Nielsen had gone home at that point. We were all texting him, buy the box, buy the box.
Buy the box.
I did, right?
We're telling Andy he's gonna buy a box, so you got it.
And I did.
Yeah.
I'll on that same note, this was 2 years ago, and it was with you, Ben. It was the Espinosa. I think it was the 10, wasn't it? It was the 10.
Yes, it was. Yeah, it was
We're like
unbanded. Yeah, it was unbanded.
Unbanded 10, and we were like two ships passing in the night. I was going one direction, Ben was going the other, and Ben's like, "Go find Hector. Go get that cigar." So I run over to Hector. I'm like, "Give me that unbanded you gave to Ben. I don't know what it is, but I fucking that thing was unbelievably good." And I was like, "Ben, you are absolutely right." It was I think it was the 10, but it was unbanded and it was unreleased at that for a show cigar. It was phenomenal, and he was absolutely right.
Yeah, that was the Espinosa 10th. And it was, I remember I was sitting there talking with Hector and Gavin, who was our rep in our area, and Tyler was there, Tyler Jones, and they were just talking. We were handing out the cigar, and he's like, "Here, smoke this." I'm not really handing these out. As Hector said, I'm not handing these out to any of our clients and stuff because they're unbanded. So I couldn't get the bands at the time. There was a mess up.
Right.
So he handed me one. I'm sitting there, and I'm not really. we're all talking, right? We're taking a break because Bear and Coop had gone off and they were trying to talk to Carlita. And
Yeah, we're trying to give him that award.
right, exactly. So y'all were waiting for him to get. He was talking to George Padron and stuff. So I had a minute, so I wandered over there, and we're talking. He handed me a cigar, and I lit it up. I'm not really thinking nothing really. I just thought, okay, it's a Espinosa Unbanded, and I'm like, holy shit, this thing is awesome. It's so good, and I'm probably about an inch into it, and I remember somebody said something about, okay, we're ready. So I get the camera coming over there, and here comes Aaron from taking pictures or something. I said, dude, go talk to Hector. Go get the cigar. Go get it before he runs out. You go get one of those, man. Dude, that was so good. And when it came to market, it was same cigar, but it was excellent. It was an excellent cigar.
Yep. I still have my, not surprisingly, got a couple boxes. I still smoke that cigar all the time. I love it.
Can't believe you got a couple boxes. This is weird. You have boxes of stuff.
That's so bizarre.
Easy there, Mr. Opus.
That's the difference. Ben will buy 5 Opus to your 5 boxes of whatever. So
Same price. Same price.
Coop, what about you?
I'm going back. When we've had a lot of these all great experiences, right? But I'm going way back. One of my first trade show, 2010. I went and introduced myself to one Andre Farkas, right? And we connected very, very easily. We just connected. He hands me the first release of the Satori.
Damn.
And it was incredible. It ended up my number 3 cigar of the year that year. That cigar, when Andre wants to make a really good cigar, he can, and he's firing on all cylinders. That original Satori, the Robusto size, was the best cigar he's ever done. That experience by far was the best. And I left the booth, and then Andre asked me, like, how was that cigar? And I said, it's the best cigar I had at the show. And he was like, really, he goes, and he was really happy because he put a lot into that cigar. But yeah, it was, and I don't think he ever replicated the Satori again after that. Like with that, he had a different wrapper that one year. I think he couldn't get that same wrapper after that. But man, that Satori in 2010, by far, was just an absolute home run for me that year. And I just never will forget that. And that's kind of how I got to know, but it was funny that I got to know Andre before he handed me that cigar, and we kind of connected on a lot of things. And so I'm gonna go with that Satori in 2010.
Nice.
Now, going off of that, I do have a similar story about Viaje, and it's kind of RTDA themed, right? I can't remember what year it was. It was in New Orleans, and I think it was on the second to last day of the show, and this wasn't even at the show floor. I actually went to a good friend of mine, Armando Ortiz, has a cigar shop there, Crescent City Cigar, which we'll all go to.
Absolutely, I
next
can't wait.
year. And one of my good buddies, I love him to death. Anyway, I walked in there and say, "Hey, bro, did you go by and see Viaje?" I'm like, "What? Who's Viaje?" He said, "Oh man, you got to go check him out, man. Look, this is the only cigars he had out at the time was the Oro and the Platino. That's all he had out." And he said, "Here, let me give you one of his cigars," because he'd brought him in. Because at the time, especially then, Armando had a lot of boutiques. He was really big on helping out the boutiques and put them in his shop. I remember I lit that cigar up. I was like, "Holy shit!" It was the Oro, because the Oro has always been my favorite.
The Oro, which he should have just kept going with the Oro.
Yes, at the time this was his 2 core lines. The Oro,
there were regular production in these lines.
Yeah, it was so fucking awesome. But I remember I went back the next day to try to find the Viaje booth, and I couldn't find him anywhere. I don't know if he left early or what, but I missed him at that trade show. But during that trade show, it was like 2009, 2008, I can't remember. I just remember thinking, holy shit, this is an up and coming boutique brand here that's going to be huge. And it turned out to be the case. They after that he kind of exploded, but then he kind of got into this trap of limited release,
Yeah.
and the Platino and Oro disappeared as a core line and went to limited release as well. Now they're not even around, but that was a start. And then he followed that up with the Skull Crusher. That was
Skull and Bones, yeah.
Skull and Bones, but it was the first one was the
Daisy Cutter.
Daisy Cutter,
yeah.
the original first Daisy Cutter, one of the best cigars I've ever had in my life.
And he was never able to
Stud.
replicate that one either.
No,
Like
and
that
I think
original.
it's because he had so much he had limited tobacco amounts, so it was all. That's why I think it started going to kind of one and done. Was he was using small batches of tobacco, so he couldn't never really replicate what he had at the time.
Yeah.
But anyway, kind of going off that reminded me of that, Coop. So
No.
that was a good one.
Before we kind of go on, I want to just kind of give Ben and Stogie Review a little shout out because there's a Viaje cigar that exists today because of Stogie Review. Does anyone know what that cigar is? I know, Ben, you know what it is.
I have no idea.
Yeah.
Stuffed turkey.
What?
Oh
Really?
shit.
Yep.
Huh.
They suggested, the Stogie Review team suggested that he do a Thanksgiving cigar, and Andre
Yeah.
took it to the bank that year.
That's
and did it.
amazing.
Yep.
That's awesome.
That's awesome.
Yep.
It was slightly a joke, but then it was like, that's
He
not a bad fucking idea.
And then he actually did it. He released it that year's white label because he couldn't get like bands or anything in time. And then eventually it became an annual release for them. It was stuffed turkey. Yep. So there would not if there would not be Thanksgiving themed cigars, but was not for the Stogie Review team. Then they deserve all the credit on that. And Andre's always giving them the credit for that. So
Wow.
It's awesome. Who hasn't gone yet?
I haven't gone yet.
Okay.
Um,
Maybe after.
Man, I have a couple that I'm trying to decide between. I think there have definitely been a couple cigars that have like really blown me away. One of them was Jacob's Ladder that first year.
oh my goodness, that was a big
That cigar was huge for us. Like John and I smoked it on the floor and we're like, this is incredible. And I think it just didn't do as well in the market.
Yeah, sadly.
And then another one that had an unfortunate end was I've been
Cornelius
trying
and
to
Anthony.
remember who it was. You know exactly where my brain is,
Oh,
Dennis. I don't remember who it was. Somebody was like, we were on our way to Espinosa, and somebody was on their way out, maybe, or a couple lanes away, and they stopped us. It might have been one of you guys. It might have been the dojo guys. It was somebody in the media stopped us and said, you have to try the Mistress when you get to Espinosa.
yeah, man.
And I was like, okay. And we got there and sat down and we're talking to Courtney and Hector. And we're like, so we've heard about the Mistress. And Courtney's like, you guys have to try it. You're going to love this cigar. And we were blown away by that cigar too.
It had to be. It might have been Seth.
Oh, it might have been Seth. Yes.
It might have been
probably
Seth. Seth was the one, that year.
That cigar was incredible on the floor. And I think it lived up to it. Like the ones that I had afterwards were fantastic. Unfortunately, that company didn't last very long after that.
No,
I wish Hector would bring that blend back though.
I wish he would too. We did that. Remember, Bear? We did that smoke off. The smoking contest. Who could smoke the Mistress the fastest?
Oh, I
Yeah.
remember.
Arizona Palooza. And we nearly killed Victor Van Pelt.
Yeah.
He smoked that thing in like 15, 20 minutes, and
God
then
bless.
and then he's like, I need some water. And he gets water and he puked. And that was the end of that. Eric said, no more after that. No more smoke offs
Yeah.
like that. Because actually, and I felt bad because Victor had some health issues, right? And of all people, I didn't want that to happen. But he wanted to win that box of Mistresses so bad.
And I asked him about it. He still smoked them.
He still, yeah.
That cigar didn't leave a bad taste in his mouth.
God damn.
No, he was. It did. I mean, he did, but did he? And there were people like chaining through those things to win that box. And that was all
Yeah.
Loomis's dastardly move. Loomis came
Yeah.
up with the whole idea.
Nice.
Oh, yeah, because you were there that year. You guys were there that year. I forgot, Tripp. You guys were there that year.
Yeah, we were there that year.
Eric would never let us do that again. He's like, I'm going to send you the carpet bills. Like,
All right, Dennis, what about you?
So I was there for the Mistress action. That was all really cool. I think really the one cigar that I still remember to this day, I don't remember the actual name of the cigar. But Tripp might help me actually. It was Cavalier. It was a Cavalier cigar, that release from that year.
It was the Cavalier Black #2.
Number 2. Okay, yes, that's what it was. Had never experienced or smoked Cavalier. It was the first kind of chance to get a cigar in my hand and smoke it, and it was awesome. And something about that, it was a cigar, it was the interaction, it was just being there. It just hit right, that moment where you just feel good, to your point what you were asking about. I felt really good in that moment, and that I still remember that fondly to this day.
Nice.
I think part of it was that you became best friends with Sebastian within 30 seconds.
Oh
of
yeah,
meeting each other.
on European black metal and we're like the subculture and all that. Yeah, it helped.
Mine may be
European
a
black
bit
metal.
surprising to you guys. I know it'll be surprising to my audience, but it was very, very surprising to me and very pleasing. Like Ben, I smoke more than Ben does on the floor, but it's mostly partial cigars. Most of them, I'll just give people a peek behind the curtain. Usually, if you see a cigar in my hand during an interview, it's usually unlit, just because I'm doing a lot of talking. So I don't get very much chance to smoke and enjoy cigars as on the trade show, because I'm conducting interviews and stuff like that. So, but when I first started covering the shoe with Coop, we weren't doing as many interviews, and so I had the opportunity to smoke more cigars and everything. But I remember this experience like it was yesterday, and it was very comical how it started. Because I particularly liked the cigar that I was smoking, and the cigar that was taken from my mouth, and was exchanged for
I
another.
remember this.
So it was in the Drew Estate booth.
Yes, I remember this.
In 2019, and Pedro had given me a Undercrown Dogma, which I'm very fond of that cigar.
Right.
So I think it's the best Vitola in the Undercrown line, and I absolutely love it. I think the collaboration between Drew Estate and Dojo was incredible with the Dogma. I think it's an incredible cigar. And I was really, really enjoying it. Well, that year in particular, Acid was celebrating its 20th anniversary. And of course, at the time, none other than brand ambassador Fabian Ziegler was heading at the efforts, as he did with all things non-traditional, for Drew Estate. And so if you guys recall, and for viewers, there was the actual experience. There was an experience.
Acid room.
The Acid
man.
room.
Acid experience room.
So we go in, and Josh Roque was leading the charge, as Joe Groh had left, because he was
the baby
expecting
was coming.
his baby was coming. And so Josh let us into the room, and the first thing that Fabian does is he sees what I'm smoking, which was a Drew Estate cigar, and he immediately pulls it from my mouth.
He did it for me too, by the way. He pulled mine
Yeah,
Me
too.
too.
Doesn't ask me to put it down, doesn't ask me to put it. No, he takes it out of my mouth and chucks it into an ashtray. And he immediately hands me an Acid 20, lights up the Acid 20. And I smoked every last bit of that Acid 20, and I fucking loved it.
Yeah, agreed.
I was shocked.
fucking
I
loved-
forgot about that. I was shocked by how good that cigar was.
That cigar was incredible on the show floor. I absolutely smoked it down to my finger. There were only 2 cigars that year that I actually smoked it in its entirety, and that was one of them. And I fucking loved it.
And in fairness, they re-gave us back those cigars afterwards.
Yes,
so.
yeah, we ended up
did,
getting
so-
it. Yeah.
Yeah, but I remember that. I just remember.
But I
Bear's
was-
like,
I
what
was-
the f-?
I was enjoying. I was like, what the fuck? I was so pissed. But at the end of it, Fabian made the right call, because I thoroughly enjoyed that Acid 20.
Right. Yeah.
That was really great stuff. Really, really great
It
stuff.
really was.
Well, everyone, thank you so much to our audience for tuning in tonight and hanging out with us. And I really want a special thank you to all my cohorts on the Cigar Coop Coalition for joining me tonight. This is going to be an incredible trade show, gentlemen. A trade show to remember. The end of an era, as Coop mentioned. Our last in Vegas for a while, and the beginning of a new era, the first and the new time of the year that we'll be going and celebrating the Super Bowl of cigars, as it's often coined, with the PCA Trade Show 2024 being hosted in Las Vegas at the Las Vegas Convention Center. We're going to bring you amazing coverage. I'm so excited about this year. We've got an incredible dynamic with this group of gentlemen here that will be bringing you some of the best, if not the best, it will be the best coverage from the trade show. So you definitely want to tune in to all of our channels from LS Fumar, Let's Get Pairing, Smoking a Syndicate, and of course, the Cigar Coop channel, where we will have all of our amazing coverage, interviews, write-ups, pictures. It's going to be a fantastic show. You don't want to miss anything from this year's trade show, and we will do our very hardest and our damnedest to bring you the best coverage of this year's trade show. And we'll do it because this team's amazing, and I'm privileged to be a part of it. Gentlemen, thank you so much for the opportunity and the time tonight. It's been absolutely incredible. So thank you.
Always a pleasure, Bear.
Absolutely. We appreciate the opportunity here as
Always.
well. Absolutely. Thank you for having us.
You're here.
Everyone, as we again, thank you so much for tuning in. You can always catch us on Facebook Live every Sunday night at 9:30 p.m. Central Time. We're going to take a couple of weeks off of shows. Obviously, we will be at Las Vegas, so you'll be seeing plenty of coverage of the cigar industry, and you'll be seeing interviews from myself as well as other members of the team as we bring you some of this prize-winning, award-winning, and fantastic coverage. And we also, but I'll be taking the following Sunday off as it'll be Easter Sunday. So we'll be back in April, ripping and raring to go with some amazing interviews. So you definitely don't want to miss it. We've got some great guests lined up already for the month of April. And you don't want to miss that. As always, if you're listening to us wherever you listen to podcasts, whether that be on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Google Play, Podbean, or wherever you listen to podcasts, our audio broadcast is courtesy of Gran Habano Cigars. Honest, compassionate, great cigars. Be sure to download, subscribe, and review. You can also check out our YouTube channel as well. Hit the subscribe button there, and don't forget to hit the bell. So, everyone out there, I really do appreciate it. Our audience, our guests. This was our 285th take, live from the Alec Bradley Lone Star studio of Azle, Texas. I'm Bear. He's Dennis. He's Tripp. He's Ben. And of course, he is Cigar Coop. And guess what, everybody? And don't forget Erron Nielsen. So sorry, Erron. Everybody, we'll see you next time.